Hi, I'm Kesenya and welcome to Guiding Star Astrology. I'm your Astro Weather Girl, here with this week's Astro Weather Report. I'm going to show you how the stars are going to affect your life this week. In my videos, I use both Vedic and traditional Western techniques with tropical astrology, not sidereal astrology. I also use the traditional system of whole sign astrology for my analysis. You can use this video to the best of your advantage by listening to the introduction to understand what the week holds for you, and then going to the timestamps for your sun, moon, and rising sign to get a more personalized forecast for the week ahead. Astrology is not designed to scare you. It's designed to give you information so that you know what the good and the challenging energies in the week ahead will be, and you can therefore consciously work with them to the best of your advantage. Remember, knowledge is power. Now, there are scammers about, and so if you should receive a message from me on any platform requesting your money for a reading, know that it is a scam. Report them immediately. And now settle in and let's see what the astral skies have in store for the week ahead. Hello everybody, and welcome to my video all about the great North American eclipse, the total solar eclipse occurring on the 8th of April in the US and many other parts of the world, and it will be on the 9th of April if you are in Australia. I'm Australian, so I'm just making sure everybody knows that. This eclipse is occurring at 19 degrees of Aries, and this video is going to be so important. We are going to cover so many interesting, fascinating topics about the eclipse, as well as letting you know what this eclipse is going to do for you in your life. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the nature of solar eclipses. I'm going to be talking about new moon in Aries energy in general and what that means. We're going to be looking at the chart of this particular eclipse and all the celestial energies playing into this eclipse that are having an impact on how it will affect us. We're going to be looking at where this eclipse will be visible and what this means for all of us. And we're going to be looking at what it means for you to have certain key planets in your chart interacting with this eclipse at 19 degrees of Aries on the 8th of April. We're going to explore the Saros cycle of this eclipse, and of course we are going to be looking at the effect of the eclipse for each and every sign. So just so you know, my Patreon family members will be getting an extended version of this video. So it's the same video as this, but with extra bits for each sign, explaining in greater depth and with, usually I talk for about 20 minutes about what is going to happen for each sign as a result of the eclipse. Here on the YouTube version, you might only get a 5-minute breakdown of what the eclipse is going to do. So if you really want more meat, more juiciness out of what this eclipse will bring, you want to join the Patreon family. So now, having said that, I want to tell you a little about an exciting event that's coming up for our North American viewers. You want to check this out. My fiance David is going to be speaking at this event, and I'm just going to invite David in now to share a little bit about this thrilling opportunity for our North American viewers. So Dave, you are speaking at a very exciting event in Texas for the April 8th eclipse. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Well, thank you, Kesenya. It's a very exciting total solar eclipse, and the event is called Eclipse at the Canyon. So if you just search for Eclipse at the Canyon, you'll see all the details, but it's really an eclipse festival. I will be speaking there. I'll be talking about myths and stars, the connection between the myths and the stars in myths all over the world. But there's a whole lineup of speakers, there's a whole lineup of musicians, and it's really exciting.
You can camp there.
Yeah,
They've got food vans, all the goods, you know.
Yeah, there's going to be a bunch of
fun.
music, a bunch of speakers, a bunch of presentations, and then at night I will be going out and showing the constellations that are visible, pointing them out with a laser pointer. So a lot of people know all the characteristics of, let's say, Virgo, but may have never been able to actually detect the outline of the constellation Virgo in the night sky, because that's not something we're taught how to do.
No.
And it's not actually easy to do unless you go out and kind of practice it. It's not impossible, but you have to practice. So anyway, I will point them out with a laser pointer, and a lot of times people say, whoa, I didn't realize those constellations are that big.
But it's not really about the constellations, it's about viewing the eclipse.
So
isn't it? Yeah.
So to get back on track,
Thank you.
Look, I know you talk about lunar eclipses and talk about solar eclipses, and I know that your listeners know all about those things, but if you think about the size of the Earth and the size of the moon, on a lunar eclipse, the Earth is so big it can throw the whole moon into its shadow. But for a solar eclipse, the moon is much smaller than the Earth, so it does not throw the whole Earth into a shadow. So you have to get underneath that path of totality to experience a total solar eclipse. And I'm at the risk of over-explaining, I really think this is important for people to understand. If I have my moon here, white moon and red sun, pink, the sizes don't even match up exactly on every solar eclipse. Like you and I saw that annular eclipse, the moon was so close that it, or so far away from us that it didn't completely cover the sun. But this time it will completely cover the sun. But if you don't get right under that path of totality, what you'll experience is, the moon will go across the sun some distance, and then it'll start going back out. So you'll get a partial eclipse of the sun. Only if you get right under that line of totality will you'll get the eclipse for 1 to 2 hours partial, and then that magnificent totality. It is just spectacular. I never experienced a total solar eclipse until 2017, and I drove 15 hours from basically Central California all the way up to Central Oregon to experience it in 2017, and it's spectacular. And this one in Texas, it'll be 4.5 minutes of totality. That's longer than we had in 2017. But if you don't get, you can be somewhere else in the United States or Canada or Mexico that's not under that path of totality, and basically what you'll get is partial, and then it'll back out. But unless you get under that line, which goes all the way up through the United States. But so for those who are still on the fence, I really encourage
about coming to the event.
or going to the line of totality. If it's at all possible, I would drive 24 hours to get under that line of totality if you need to. And of course, the event will be right under that line of totality.
Utopia in Texas.
Utopia,
Great
Texas.
name to have an event like this.
Nearest to San Antonio and Austin are the two places that you could fly into and get to Utopia, Texas for Eclipse at the Canyon. But anywhere along that line of totality, it is worth it. You know, it goes all the way up through New York, and
it's a very special event. Sort of for many people, it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to see an eclipse like this. So if you can make it out to have a look at the eclipse, whether you go to the event in Utopia or not, it is so worthwhile to go and experience a full solar eclipse, because it doesn't happen very often in
you've got to be in the right part of the world for
experience
the experience of totality. So
thank you, Dave. Come on, everybody, out to Utopia, Texas on the 8th, and enjoy the festival, enjoy the fun with some great like-minded people. Experience the eclipse and learn all about the stars and myths pertaining to this amazing celestial event. Thanks very
Kesenya.
much. So let's now look at the nature of solar eclipses. This is a new moon eclipse. That's what a solar eclipse is. Just so you can see here is the moon, here is the sun. They are together at 19 degrees of Aries. Let's write it on the board so everybody knows. 19 degrees of Aries is the degree of this eclipse. Now, new moon eclipses, solar eclipses, trigger events. Usually we say in Western astrology generally that they trigger events within a week either side of the eclipse on in this case, the 8th of April. And the events that take place either the week before or the week after the eclipse will be playing out and impacting your life for up to 6 months after that those events take place, either side of the eclipse. Now, we have actually been, according to my teachers, there's a different way to calculate the eclipse activation period that I'm talking about. And we've been in the active phase of manifestation for this eclipse since the sun was at 0 degrees of Aries on the 19th of March. That's when we entered the activation phase for the solar new moon eclipse on the 8th of April. And we're going to be in this activation phase until the 28th of April. So this is a very key pivotal period, the activation phase for the solar eclipse. If anything happens during that time that is key and impactful in your life, you know it's going to be having a bearing, having an impact, playing out for you for the subsequent 6 months until the next set of eclipses arrives. That'll happen around October. Now, interestingly, my friends, just before an eclipse occurs, there's a drop in the Earth's electromagnetic emissions. And so this is science, discovering and measuring and seeing the energetic changes that we know we've observed happen to us in an astrological sense. So science is actually contributing to our astrological understanding here by having measured the drop in the electromagnetic emissions of the Earth at the time of an eclipse. In mundane astrology, solar eclipses, which are rarer to see than lunar eclipses are usually visible from up to 50% of the area of the Earth. So 50% of the planet can see a lunar eclipse. That's a full moon eclipse. But solar eclipses can only be seen, as David described, from a very narrow strip. Otherwise, you don't see a solar eclipse in its totality, in its full effect. So this very narrow little strip is a much smaller area of the Earth. And so in mundane astrology, lunar eclipses pertain to the people, the masses, the large crowds and swathes of people in each and every country, the ordinary people like you and I. Solar eclipses affect such a narrower area. They correspond in mundane astrology to people in leadership positions. And that can be kings and queens, it can be prime ministers, it can be presidents, it can be your local mayor. It doesn't matter. Somebody in leadership is represented by the solar eclipses. That's the as above, so below kind of impact. What you see is what you get, that pertains to mundane astrology. So any changes that come in life from the solar eclipse events are caused by the outside in. This is opposite to the lunar eclipse, okay, where the changes come from our internal change within us affecting what happens outside in our external life. This time with a solar eclipse, it's the events that occur at this time change us on the inside. So that's the difference. Some astrological texts indicate that a new moon eclipse is going to be felt stronger by people who were born during the day. They have a day chart. That is where, if you're born during the day, that's when the sun is the more significant indicator than the moon in a chart. And in a new moon eclipse, it is the sun that's being shadowed by the moon, or crossed over by the moon. In a lunar eclipse, it's the opposite. It's the moon that's getting shadowed or hidden. So the moon is the more important significator in a lunar eclipse, but we're looking at the solar eclipse and the sun is the more important factor, the more important luminary that we're exploring here. And so if you're born during the day, the sun is more important than the moon in your chart. If you're born during the night, the moon is more important. There's a difference there. So, of course, for people born during the day, they feel the impacts of the solar eclipses more. Now, eclipses mark a major turning point in our lives generally. The universe is intent on moving us forward now into our destiny, into our purpose, getting us back on track with why we are here as a soul incarnate on the planet. And the reason that is that it is the nodes of the moon. Here they are, these two little points on my astro wheel. It is the nodes of the moon that cause eclipses. We have, there's a new moon every month in every sign, but it's only when a new moon or a full moon occurs within a certain amount of degrees from these two little nodes that we get an eclipse. So that's what eclipses are. And the nodes of the moon are karmic points in astrology. They represent our past life conditioning, our past life experiences, south node, and the north node is about our future, our direction, the meaning and the purpose for being here. So eclipses always bring about a major turning point in our lives, and there's usually no going back from whatever unfolds or occurs because of an eclipse. The energy of an eclipse is all about realigning with your purpose and your intent for incarnation now. And anything that is superfluous to that intent of the soul is let go of. You know, that can be a career that's not fulfilling the purpose for intent for your soul. It could be a place of living. It could be a relationship. It could be your health condition that is not helping you with your purpose and intent for incarnation. Things that do not serve your destiny tend to fall by the wayside now. And remember, no matter what happens, whether you perceive it to be good or bad, it is always for your highest good, your highest destiny, the purpose for your incarnation. Now, I've given illustrations of this before in many other videos, but I love to use it because it's a very obvious illustration to what I'm talking about. I had an eclipse in 2018 exactly on my sun, exactly to the degree on my sun, natal sun placement. And sun represents career generally in a chart. I lost a job that was helping me pay my mortgage and keep my children fed, etc., etc. And I went 6 months, that's how long the eclipses have effect, remember. I lost the job, or was unceremoniously and righteously, not a very good experience, let go from a particular job. And it took me 6 months to move on from that position. I cashed in my life insurance and we were living off thin air, trying to survive for 6 months. And that felt like a terrible experience because of what that eclipse brought about. But it forced me to make astrology my main priority. Instead of a side hustle, astrology became my main business, my main source of income and living. And that was just what I needed, a good kick in the pants to make that happen. Otherwise, I was too afraid to step out and go it alone with astrology. And it took the eclipse kicking my butt to make that happen. I am grateful for that, even though it was really hard. So you can see here how a perceived unfortunate event and period of struggle led to something that was more aligned with my destiny. Something that was what the universe wanted me to be doing. So that illustration, I feel, colors things very significantly. For anyone who's going through a tough time during the eclipse, remember there is purpose, there is meaning to this. It's going to take you more into your destiny and your purpose for being here. And so with that in mind, we need to remember to always act with kindness toward other people during eclipse season, because people can struggle during eclipses. They don't always bring difficult events. Sometimes they bring blessing. Sometimes they bring manifestation that's just awesome and we're just on top of the world. You just never know. They're a bit of a mixed bag, a bit of a wild card energy, these eclipses. But we need to always act with kindness to other people, because you never know what other people are going through as a result of the eclipses. We need to forgive other people for what is going on during eclipse season, because whatever happens, if we are letting go of somebody out of our life, or we are being let go of out of somebody else's life, it's likely to be caused by the eclipse, and we need to act with forgiveness and kindness no matter what is unfolding. It's okay. We don't, in the case of like a relationship that's falling apart, you know, a marriage or a family dynamic or something like that that is going through changes as a result of the eclipse. Remember, my friends, we do not own anybody else. And neither do we owe anyone else anything other than our kindness. And this includes kindness to ourselves as well. That's what we owe ourselves, to be kind to ourselves. So keep kindness in mind. Keep forgiveness in mind with all the things you're dealing with during eclipse season, and you will navigate it so much better, particularly if you're dealing with a relationship issue of some sort as a result of the eclipse energy. Can I just encourage you, my friends, to allow in what needs to take place in your life, what is wanting to manifest as a result of this eclipse. Don't fight it. Simply go with the flow. Because remember, this is an important turning point in your life, because a complete change of pace is at hand. Many of you watching this video are going to have a 180-degree turnaround in your life and start heading in a new direction in some area, career, health, relationships, place of living, etc. There can be, usually during an eclipse, we get some big news of life events that are going to affect you in some way. So, you know, you might get a phone call out of the blue. Look, I'll give you an illustration that's just happened to me with the previous lunar eclipse. I had a phone call from my mother saying that my mother and father have decided to sell their farm. And that is huge for our family. That's the kind of big, unexpected, out of the blue events that happen as a result of eclipses, you know. Solar eclipses tend to create new beginnings in life because it's a new moon, new starts, fresh starts, turning over a new leaf, bright new opportunities. So that's more likely to be what manifests during this time. Often, as I've just illustrated with the phone call I received from my mother this time around, often there will be a random event that you didn't expect, that you didn't see coming, but it is an exciting time of change, even if there's some sadness tinging what unfolds. Sometimes there's sadness, sometimes there's not, but it is an exciting time of change and redirectioning. We need to pay attention to all events, all news, any gossip, any interactions that happen, any new people that enter our lives, you know, anything like that that happens within the eclipse activation season, because they're going to be very important in our life. Now, this eclipse event is falling with the North Node, so it's likely to bring new events into our life. You know, some new people, some new opportunities, some new chances for redirectioning. When the eclipses fall with the South Node, it usually indicates something is falling away out of our life. In this case, with the North Node, it's something new coming in to our life. So if this eclipse is falling with your sun placement, it means this is happening on your birthday. And therefore, it's going to be like a very powerful year in your life. So if you're having your birthday around the 8th of April, you are going to have one of the most phenomenal, life-changing years that you will ever experience. So hang on to your hats. It's going to be an adventure. If you are a Leo rising or a Leo sun or a Leo moon person, so if you've got a significant placement like that in Leo, then you are going to be more affected by this eclipse because the sun rules your sign. So that being the case, the sun is the luminary that's being eclipsed. Leo people will feel this more, as well as, like I said earlier, people born during the day where the sun is the key indicator. And just to conclude what I am talking about in this little section of our video, eclipses that occur in the same element as your birth signs, so your rising sun or moon, can generally be more friendly to you. So we've talked about it affecting people with Leo energy because the sun rules Leo, but also this is happening in the element of fire. So if you have any placements in Aries, in Sagittarius or Leo, like sun, moon or rising sign in any of those fire signs, then this eclipse is likely to be more benevolent to you than detrimental. So thumbs up if you're a fire sign person. Now, if you're watching this video at the moment it comes out, which is about a week before the eclipse occurs, then you are watching this at a time we know as the eclipse gateway. If you're watching this on the Saturday that it goes up in Australia, you're in eclipse gateway energy. Let me tell you a little bit about eclipse gateways. Eclipses always follow cycles, as we know, and they generally come in pairs, although sometimes we can have eclipses where, you know, like 6 in a year like we had in 2020. Is it any wonder 2020 was such a pivotal year? But generally speaking, eclipses come in twos. You get a lunar eclipse and then a solar eclipse, or the other way around. The solar eclipse might come first and then the lunar eclipse might follow. Now that's new moon and full moon, obviously. So the time between these two pairs of eclipses, whichever way they occur, solar first, lunar second, lunar first, solar second, whichever way they occur, the in-between period is considered to be the eclipse gateway. So the path between eclipses. And it's a period that usually is around 2 weeks long, so 14 days. And now this eclipse gateway is one of the most potent and magical times of the year because the energy of both eclipses is merging together, forming a bridge between one state of consciousness and the next state of consciousness that we're being sort of shimmied into by the universal energies. So eclipses, as we know, are always huge points of growth. They're times of awakening. They're times of change. So this moment in between the two eclipses, two pairs, is really a time of transformation and renewal for us. So there's two kinds of eclipse gateways. Firstly, there's the gateway that occurs between a lunar eclipse and a solar eclipse. And then there's the gateway that occurs between a solar eclipse and a lunar eclipse. Depending on the order of the two eclipses, the energy can be slightly different. So the intensity of the eclipse gateway also will depend on the intensity of the eclipses that are occurring either side of it. Now, this particular solar eclipse on the 8th of April is very intense because it's a total eclipse of the sun. So it's a very powerful eclipse. That makes the eclipse gateway intensity very, very strong, okay? So let's explore what it means to be in the gateway between the lunar eclipse and a solar eclipse. So when we're walking the eclipse gateway between a lunar eclipse and a solar eclipse, there's usually a theme of releasing and letting go to make space for the new during this time. Like I said, my family is about to sell our family farm. We've been there all my life. That is a releasing and letting go of something that has been in my life every year. All my years of existence on the planet have been with that as my home. And so it's a massive time of releasing something and letting go for me. There's an example. You will probably have examples that you can leave in the comments below. And please do. We're all edified by sharing knowledge with one another in this way. Back to the eclipse gateway, lunar eclipses have the ability to pull and drag things out of us, almost like the moon's gravitational pull helps pull things out that have been buried deep within us. And this pulling and drawing out energy helps us to release things that are no longer serving us. And that can bring out old thoughts, old patterns, old beliefs to the surface in order for us to clear them. And as we walk through this eclipse gateway period, after a lunar eclipse is the first eclipse portal, it's likely that we might feel very drained, very tired, and lethargic, exactly how I've been feeling during this period. You may also feel the need to go within, to reflect, and to have some time on your own when the lunar eclipse is the first one of the set. Hidden truths, hidden feelings might come to the surface, and you might have to deal with old wounds that you'd pushed away or forgotten about during this time. Lunar eclipses always challenge us to dig a little deeper and push a little further so that we can create more awareness around our thoughts and around our habits. And this is something that definitely intensifies the closer that we get to the solar eclipse at the other end of this gateway portal. So we're going to be dealing with a whole lot of old energy, old feelings, old thoughts, and coming up, dealing with them. And that's going to get stronger and stronger as we get towards the solar eclipse on the 8th of April. Lunar eclipses, which is what happened around the 24th, 25th of March, can also bring endings. So these endings often occur in this gateway period between the two eclipses. Lunar eclipses herald endings, and that happens between the two eclipses more often than not. Now, as we move closer to the solar eclipse during this gateway period, we get a sense of lightness and relief, like things are being cleared, things are being let go of. And we might even feel like there's more space being created in our life. So when we end the eclipse gateway period with a solar eclipse, it indicates that the months following the solar eclipse are going to be focused on creating the new, filling the new space in life with something more positive and something more aligned with us. And it also indicates that the months ahead after the solar eclipse are going to be filled with action and energy, and we're going to be supported to move forward, because solar eclipses, which are caused by a new moon, are about new beginnings, as I said. So we're going from a releasing phase, clearing the energy, making space for the new, and then it's all systems go. It's like full steam ahead, rocket launch into what we want to manifest for the coming 6 months or so. So that's the eclipse gateway. Powerful time. Work with this energy as best you can. Support yourself in the releasing process that's happening in this portal gateway period. If you need to take time out to think or journal or meditate or reflect, then do so. There's just never a better time to do that than between a lunar eclipse and a solar eclipse. Let's now, my friends, look at the general feel of a new moon in Aries, remembering that an eclipse, a solar eclipse, is just a new moon on steroids, a new moon times 5, intensity of new moon in Aries energy. So a new moon in Aries indicates that life improvements are taking place. Aries wants to make things better, take new initiatives. So it's a time for doing that. A new moon in Aries is all about brand new starts. It's the first sign of the zodiac after all. It's about initiation. It's about creating the new. So it's a good time for making a plan for the year ahead under new moon in Aries energy. It's a time for tapping into your bravery, tapping into your determination, tapping into your ability to assert yourself. You might need to do so under this eclipse energy and the events that come up during the eclipse. You might need to draw on your courage. You might need to draw on your ability to assert yourself and strengthen that muscle in you. New moon in Aries energy gives us a desire for new things. The old is gone, the new is coming in. Aries is the child of the zodiac. You've often heard this, I want this, mummy. You're out shopping with your kid and the little kid wants an ice cream and I want the chocolate, mummy. And, the good, that's the energy of Aries, is the child wanting what it wants, desiring something new that maybe it hasn't had before, or moving into its wants. And usually the good mother, Gaia, our Mother Earth, seeks to provide what the child would like within reason and within what's best for her child. So new moon in Aries energy is quite exciting, because if what we want, if the desire we have for something new is fulfilling and wholesome and good, then the universe and Mother Earth is more inclined to want to give it to us at this time under the new moon in Aries. If you're a parent, you don't, and the Bible even speaks about this, we don't give, horrible things to our children unless we're an absolute asshole. We don't give horrible things to our children. We give them what they want as much as what is within reason and what is good for our children. And so too, new moon in Aries, where we desire new things, desire to make new starts, the universe steps in and can give us blessing if it is in accord with what is good for us. So that's something really to cling to during this new moon in Aries eclipse, because whatever unfolds ultimately might be for our best and our growth and the fulfillment ultimately of our deep down desires. What an exciting time, my friends. What an exciting time. Let's look now at the chart of this eclipse, and I only use 5-degree orbs in my astrology because they're the strongest connections and interactions between planets. I find that once you move beyond 5-degree orbs, particularly with the inner planets, 5-degree orbs, I'd use even less with the outer planets. But once you move beyond 5-degree orbs, you have actually more free will over whether you invite an energy in or you use that energy or that energy impacts you. You have more ability to, choose for yourself and determine for yourself whether you want to work with that energy in that particular way for good or bad. Under 5 degrees, and things tend to manifest a little bit more out of our control, a bit more with the energy reception of the universe. We are energy receptors, and we are sort of more influenced by the energies under 5 degrees. So that's why I work with 5-degree orbs and don't really bother to look any further in orb than that. Okay, so in this eclipse, here it is at 19 degrees of Aries. There are no other conjunctions. You've got, and eclipses, like I said, I'm only using 5-degree orbs. You've got Mercury here, but it's out of orb, out of 5-degree orb. So I'm not counting that Mercury energy as a conjunction, even though Mercury is in the same sign. Venus is down here in Aries in the same sign, way out of range of this 19-degree eclipse. So I'm not counting those two. And there are no other aspects forming, no sextiles, no oppositions, no nothing forming. No squares, no trines with any other planet. So this is quite a lone wolf kind of eclipse in that regard. It's very unusual actually to see all these planets bunched up in this tight little three, I'm not counting Pluto here, but in this tight little 3-sign area. It would pay, and I certainly don't have time to do it in this video, but it would pay if you have the right astrological software to do so, to look at what area of the chart this is falling in for your part of the world. Let's say you're, if this occurs in your part of the world while Libra is rising, then you're going to have a big, strong influence on your part of the world here with all these planets bunched up in the 6th, 7th, and 8th house. And those themes are going to be very strong in the expression in mundane astrology for the people in your area of the world. Just so you know, if you're interested in exploring the impact of the astrology a little further than what I'm going to discuss here. But back to what we're talking about, the chart of this eclipse, as you can see, no aspects being formed. Very interesting. Now, the ruler of this eclipse is Mars, because Mars rules the sign of Aries. And so we're looking now at what Mars, the ruler of the eclipse, is doing, the dispositor of the eclipse, if you want to call it that. Well, here is Mars down here in a conjunction with Saturn. These two are enemies. They don't like to be in each other's company. This could bring some agitation. I'll talk about that in a minute. The other thing that's going on in this eclipse chart is that we have Uranus and Jupiter making their beginning to form their conjunction. It's going to happen very soon, but hasn't become exact yet. So this conjunction is occurring. Probably won't talk about that quite so much because it's not interacting by aspect with the eclipse. But this one, Saturn-Mars, I will talk about now because remember, Mars is the dispositor, the ruler of the eclipse itself. So we can expect through this eclipse that we might get some surprises and shocks. I mean, that's just eclipse energy anyway. Really, this eclipse might sort of shake us out of a rut, and it could happen in a manner that bursts out powerfully because Saturn-Mars conjunction is very like a Coke bottle with its lid screwed on that you shake, 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 and then you undo the Coke bottle and out comes all the fizzy froth. That's Saturn-Mars. Saturn's the restricting cap on the bottle of agitated energy that is the Mars, the Coke in the bottle. And once that there's a bit of air as you unlock that screw cap, out comes all the frustration of Mars, the bursting forth fizzy. And that means that kind of expression can come about through this eclipse where something just bursts out, maybe with anger, maybe with aggression, maybe with frustration. One thing though, this is going to be an opportunity, I think, for the world to expand in freedom, to expand in truth, to expand in authenticity. I think that is a positive that may come out of this. We are going to be observing what is happening in the world right now, and we're already in this energy, let's face it, and be like, I'm so frustrated by all the BS that's going on in the world right now. I've had it up to here, up to my eyeballs with the shit that's going down right now. And we're just about, as people on the planet, about ready to burst. Like, we've had enough of these warmongers, of the criminals running the show. and being at their mercy, you know? And it could be that that's what bursts out now, because ultimately we want to see more freedom. We want to see people living in truth and authenticity, not the shit that we're having to be subjected to through propaganda media right now. Sorry, getting a bit on my bandwagon. I'll pull that back and we'll focus a little more now on Saturn conjunct Mars. I've just talked about how we might be observing and feeling this as a world, as a collective on the planet. Let's talk about how Saturn conjunct Mars, so incorporated into this eclipse energy, might be felt on a personal level. Well, our ability to assert ourselves during this eclipse season might be tested. We might want to assert ourselves, but we can't. Something's blocking us. Something's holding us back. We don't have the opportunity. Our actions can be met with resistance now. We want to take action. We want to do something. We might feel even more determined than usual, and yet the universe just feels like it doesn't have our back. We're putting our effort in. We're putting ourselves out there. Why aren't you showing up, universe? Why does it feel like there's a block? Again, that's the energy of Mars, Saturn. Feeling like we're spinning our wheels and getting nowhere. Remember, these energies are cyclical. They don't last. But I just want to point out to you that during this eclipse season, that's what you might be feeling. We might have frustration and anger, not just with the criminals and the mafia governments that are running the world, but with general authorities. You know, you take your planning application into the planning department and you're absolutely frustrated beyond compare. We're frustrated and angry with the rules of society that we are having to live under, or the old way of things. Saturn is the old rules, the old regulations, the old hierarchies, and Mars is like, I'm railing against these restrictions. That can be manifesting in many different ways. We can be very conscious of creating, well, we need to rather be very conscious of creating illness in our lives through overwork, overstress, and overstrain right now. So my advice would be, during this eclipse season, if you can, pare back a bit. Don't take on more than what you can handle. Pace yourself so that you come out the other side without, stress-related illnesses. It is a frustrating time. This eclipse season can be a frustrating time. So taking it steady, taking life as it comes, simply going with the flow and accepting what is the best approach to take during this eclipse season. You can feel blocked in many areas of life now because of this Saturn-Mars conjunction. Things feel like they're out of control. Just remember to accept this is the way the energy is right now. It's not going to last. We will move through this and everything will shift. But do use this time to take a deep look at yourself. As I said, this gateway period is a time for introspection. And use this to introspect about you. It's a good time for creating improvements in who we are, correcting offensive behaviors that we might have, or emotions and traits like anger, selfishness, or hostility in our demeanor, being the Karen, or the male equivalent of a Karen. I think that's referred to as a Ken. But, correct those problems that you reflect upon in your life. Saturn is here to help us do so, and Mars can create an energy of action around those corrections we want to make on our take to refine ourselves. We can also be forced to confront any sexual issues that we might have. Mars is a very sexual energy, and Saturn will want to correct anything in that regard. You might have some trouble with bosses and authority, not just authority figures like the government and what have you, but you might have trouble with, your employer, especially if you've got an employer that is pushy or domineering. That can be exacerbated during the eclipse and might push you to the edge, actually. Many people, because of the Saturn-Mars conjunction, might be feeling like they're carrying an extra heavy workload, an extra heavy sense of overwhelm at this time. So forewarned, forearmed, do what you need to do to balance that and cope. Professional athletes, though, under this energy can actually give their best performance now. It doesn't guarantee winning in competition, but you have more stamina to push yourself to an extreme with the Saturn-Mars conjunction. It's actually an energy of frustration that takes you further than you may have been able to go before. Interesting phenomenon. It is commonly an energy of accidents. So Saturn-Mars conjunction can trigger accidents, especially as Mars is the dispositor of the eclipse, okay? So be very, very careful in your undertakings at this time. Don't be callous or careless. Be very conscious about what you say and where you go and what you do. It's not a time for climbing up that rickety old rotten ladder to deal with something on your roof. Please don't do stuff like that during the eclipse season because of the conjunction of Saturn and Mars that is occurring. Get plenty of rest. Get plenty of relaxation as much as you can during this time. And stay strong. I know this all sounds very negative, but I share it with you to be forewarned and forearmed. Stay strong, knowing that your confidence will eventually return and things will start to go right once Mars and Saturn start to pull apart. So it's not a long-term thing, but it could impact what we experience at the time of the eclipse. I just want you to know. Now, when new moons occur, we find that the moon is invisible in the sky for up to 3 days. A day before the new moon, and the day of the new moon, and the day after the new moon. Now, that happens every new moon. And so we won't be seeing the moon itself until it moves across the sun to create the eclipse. So new moon energy, it's like Jesus in the tomb or Jonah in the whale. It's a time for going within and being introspective and weighing up our inner world before we emerge out as a changed human. And this means assessing how we feel at the very core of our being. No more hiding things in the basement. We need to take a torch and look at ourselves deeply. We've referred to this a couple of times already in this video, so there's many energies pointing to the need to assess our weaknesses, assess our struggles, to look into the darkness of the soul under the light of day, and expect that the universe is going to reveal things to us and highlight things to us to help us move forward and change. This new moon energy, there's 4 planets all coming together they're not in aspect or conjunction of one another, but they're all in the sign of Aries. So this is considered to be a stellium, giving strength to Aries energy. It's all about initiation, and initiation tends to give fast results as well. We not only have the determination and drive to succeed as a result of this new moon in Aries, but we also have the know-how and intelligence to make it happen. Something else to mention about this eclipse is that the moon is not out of bounds. That is a relief. That is a blessing. Give thanks to the divine for that, because this is a volatile time when we have the North Node in Aries and the South Node in Libra. It often brings very volatile life experiences in mundane astrology. And when the moon is out of bounds, it behaves in a very wild and erratic manner. Often, not always, but often with people who have out of bounds moon in their natal chart are extreme kinds of personalities. And we see it frequently in the charts of serial killers that have the moon out of bounds. Not everybody, but it does show up in research about people who are serial killers having out of bounds moon. And so that's just an illustration of how intense it can be. Now, this new moon is occurring only 4 degrees from the position of the North Node in Aries. That's very close. As I just said, whenever the North Node is in Aries, it brings extreme results because it causes the most extreme lunar declinations. I've just mentioned. But as I said, fortunately, the moon is not out of bounds with this new moon in Aries. Now, there is a fixed star involved in this eclipse. I might just draw that on here so people know that there's a fixed star playing into this energy. This fixed star is called Baton Kaitos. I'll spell it for you, B-A-T-E-N-K-A-I-T-O-S. And it is at 21 degrees. Now, the eclipse is at 19. The fixed star is at 21 degrees. That is considered to be in a conjunction. We only allow 2-degree orbs with fixed stars. And this is a difficult star. It has the nature of Saturn. And it tends in ancient writings to give isolation, depression, and accidents. So we've already talked about, be careful, because this is an energy of where accidents can occur. We need to be extra careful because this fixed star tends to give that kind of thing as well. So just forewarned, forearmed, my friends, I like to share all that's going on, just so you know what energies to expect. Now I'm going to pop over to the website time and date and show you where the eclipse is going to be visible, where you're going to see it from. David's already mentioned to us that it's through the center of America, particularly in Texas where his event is occurring. I'm going to show you where else in the continent of America you're going to be able to see the totality of this eclipse.
So here is the path of the eclipse on April the 8th in some parts of the world and April 9th in other parts. And as you can see, the path of the solar eclipse is going to be visible across the North America, particularly Mexico and the USA. So let's have a look at how the path will unfold. So the eclipse is growing and beginning, and they're seen across this path. So anywhere along that path, you will be able to see the totality of the eclipse when it occurs. Here is a zoomed in version. So we were looking at the whole globe a moment ago, but now we're looking here at the actual path where you'll be able to see totality along this dotted red line. Very narrow as things go, dotted red line will have the totality. Anything sort of north or south of that dotted red line will get a partial version of the solar eclipse. But if you want to see the totality, as David explained, you need to be on this line right here, running through Mexico, through the United States, and right up across Prince Edward Island there in the maritime provinces of Canada. And finally, here's a visual of how the eclipse looks as it moves across the sun, how the moon looks as it moves across the sun. You can see it sweeping in there. It goes dark, becomes total with the outside of the sun. I forget the name of what that is around the outside. And then the moon moves out again. So there is what you can expect, my friends, the location and the visual of what a total solar eclipse will be like. Do be sure and get out to the line of totality where you'll be able to see this fully amazing event.
Now I want to talk about the Saros cycle of this eclipse. This is the 8 North Saros cycle. Solar Saros series occur in the same family. They are 1400 years long usually, and the solar eclipses begin at the North or the South Pole in their family cycle of eclipses. Now this particular set of eclipses began with a solar eclipse on May 17th, 1501, which in the course of an eclipse family is not that long ago. This eclipse family will not finish until June the 23rd, 2745. So we're really just getting into this one. It repeats, the solar Saros series repeats every 18 years. Now that's not every 19 years, which is the Metonic cycle that you'll often hear people talking about. This is the Saros cycle. It's only 18 years long, a little bit different. And it carries the energy of the initial eclipse that occurred back in 1501, the birth chart of this family of eclipses. So let's just quickly talk about the birth chart of this eclipse and what it is going to therefore potentially manifest for us as a part of this eclipse family. Well, in the original chart, the key feature was that Uranus was squaring this eclipse. So what does that mean? Well, Uranus is a beautiful energy. I love Uranus, but full of surprises, full of shocks, and full of the unexpected. Uranus is going to give the energy of this eclipse some inventiveness. Genius inspirations can occur as a result of this eclipse energy. Intuitive leaps in consciousness, insights, good ideas, visions, and vivid dreams can happen because of this eclipse. You might feel some strain on your private life because of this eclipse. You may also, as I spoke about when we first started looking at the chart of this eclipse, this is where it was coming from, you might also feel a need for freedom, a need to break out of confines and restrictions and boundaries that might be in your life. So keep that in mind. This is what the energy of the Saros cycle is bringing us. And we will be talking about all these things and how they will impact each sign when we do the all signs breakdown. But what if you have key planets interacting with this eclipse? So do you have any planets around 19 degrees of Aries? They're going to be activated now. Remember, we're only using 5-degree orbs. Full new moon, energies tend to see the beginning of something new. The beginning, something new is unfolding, something new is starting. We're turning over a new leaf. But there might even be a tie to something that we began 2 weeks ago when we had the full moon. There could even be a tie to something 6 months ago when we had a full moon in Aries, or something a year ago when we had the last new moon occurring in Aries. And there can even be a tie to something that began in our life 18 years ago that might feel like it is repeating now. Or we're getting a chance to review it or have a new expression of it. So what was happening, I would suggest, look back in your life. What was happening 18 years ago when we had the last new moon in this family cycle of eclipses occurring? What was happening in your life? What was beginning in your life then? Well, you might be about to embark on some sort of fresh start with that energy. Now as a result of this eclipse. So maybe you moved into a new house, maybe you started a new job, maybe you met somebody who was very significant in your life at that time. Anything. You might have started a new course of study. Now with this energy, there might be something new unfolding regarding that theme that began 18 years ago in your life. So for this eclipse, this eclipse energy where we're looking at the conjunctions of your personal planets, we're only using 2 degrees within that 2-degree orb of 19 degrees of Aries. You may want to consider any planet that is squaring, trining, or opposing 19 degrees of Aries as well, but the orb must be very tight for a true effect to be felt. So what if you have the sun here at around 19 degrees of Aries? Well, this is firstly happy birthday to you. You hope you have a wonderful year ahead if this is you. But the sun being activated by this eclipse might bring some bright new goals for your career. The sun is career energy. It's how we shine. It's our confidence. So you might be expressing your confidence in a new way. You might be going for a new position or a new role, either within an organization that you work for or in a completely different field. You might even be considering, as a result of this eclipse, going it alone, becoming a consultant, or establishing your own new business career opportunity. You might be even thinking that, I'm sick of this old career direction I was going in. I scrap that. I'm going to study something new and turn it into my new career. So there can be some big changes regarding career when we have an eclipse on our sun. As I described a little earlier in this video, the change in job career direction when I had an eclipse on my sun back in 2017-18. What if you have the moon here at 19 degrees of Aries? Well, this is a time when you might be experiencing, because of this eclipse, new emotions, a reset of your emotional self. Maybe you've been feeling low and down and sad. Along comes this eclipse, new moon in Aries on your moon, and suddenly you feel buoyant. You feel like there's hope. You feel like you can make life work, and that there's a sense of bubbliness. For example, what I'm saying is a reset of emotions, hopefully not in the negative, but more in the positive, as I've just described. It's also new moon occurring on a moon is a lunar return, which happens every month, but this is a very significant lunar return. So we can also reset our perceptions of what we need to be fulfilled in life. You might have always thought that you had to have the fanciest home on the street in order to be fulfilled, and along comes this reset, this lunar return on steroids with a new moon eclipse here, And suddenly you realize, I don't have to have the fanciest home on the street. The home I'm in is actually really lovely, and I can turn it into something really fantastic for me. We reset the needs, our perception of the needs that we have for fulfillment, and we change them to suit now. So there's a reset of that energy regarding what we feel comfortable about, what we need in order to be fulfilled in life, and as I said, our emotional self. What if Mercury is here at 19 degrees of Aries? Well, you might be developing some new skills. You might go and do a course in cookery, or undertake some wood carving, instructions, or you might purchase a course on the internet to learn all about something that you've never known before. You could undertake one of my webinars or one of David's webinars. Why not? Mercury here says you're going to be developing new skill sets and new knowledge. And so look for, live with this energy, use this energy, turn over a new leaf, turn over a new page with the new moon on your Mercury, and develop some new skills in an area that you might have been exploring for a while, thinking I should do a course in this or that or the other. This is your chance to go for it and to really bite into this meaty eclipse energy for the benefit of growing your talents and skills and abilities. Venus forming here with the eclipse at 19 degrees of Aries could actually bring you some new love opportunities. Now, that's not going to be the case for everyone, because there's so much to look at when we're looking for new love in our life. We have to look at dashes, we have to look at dasher cycles and charts, Varga charts, we need to look at the progress charts, it's so much. But one of the key manifestation triggers is to have an eclipse forming on our Venus. So it is possible that many of you with Venus at 19 degrees of Aries might be experiencing new love. Now, if you're already in a relationship, that might mean a reinvigoration or a new start with the relationship you're in, a refreshing of the relationship that you're in, which is wonderful. Turn over a new leaf with that. Enjoy that. If you're a single person, it could mean love for self. Venus has to do with our self-worth and self-value. And so you might be experiencing a reset and a new beginning with how much you love yourself and what you're willing to tolerate and accept in your life and what you no longer are. There's a complete change with self-worth and self-valuing now. Also, Venus can indicate some new financial opportunities, maybe chances to grow your material prosperity through acquisition of, fine things, through the chance to go out and enjoy some lovely cultural experiences like fine dining or going to galleries and that kind of thing. If Venus is here, you might get opportunities to grow your wealth, to grow your possessions, or to experience the pleasures of life. Mars at 19 degrees of Aries, being triggered by this eclipse, might give you a rise in passion, a rise in enthusiasm. Maybe you're somebody who's quietly sat there all your life twiddling your thumbs about things, but all of a sudden this eclipse occurs on your Mars and you're not going to stay silent anymore. You're going to be the warrior. You're going to be the hero about something that you are passionate about. Maybe that's some world situation, but plenty to get angry about what's going on in the world right now. Or it could be about some sense of injustice in your own life that you want to get fired up about and vigorous about. Or it could be about something entrepreneurial. Mars is an entrepreneurial energy, and suddenly you decide, you know what? I keep making jams and stocking my pantry full of jams. Blow that, I've got a pantry that's overflowing with jam. I'm going to go start a market stall. And this is my entrepreneurial endeavor. I'm just using jams. It could be anything. You get entrepreneurial under this energy and you want to start making money through your own capabilities and talents. It could even be that you get an interest in real estate. Mars, it has to do with buying and selling of real estate that might come as a result of this eclipse on your Mars as well. But you get more vigorous, more passionate, and more courageous when this happens. Remember though, Mars is the ruler of the eclipse and is currently down here with Saturn, so there could be some frustration for people who are having their Mars triggered by this eclipse in the natal chart. You could feel a little bit irritated, so be kind to yourself, be gentle with yourself, be patient with yourself. Jupiter in the natal chart at 19 degrees of Aries is going to see you make a fresh start with your joy. Jupiter is your joy, your joviality, your happiness. So for many people, this could look like something's been bringing you down, something's been resting heavy on your shoulders maybe for a while, and then new moon on Jupiter brings a sense of hope, a sense of glass half full, a sense of I can get through this and make a fresh start and be in a better place. You get more optimistic, more hopeful, more joyful with Jupiter here. There can also be some new philosophies that present themselves to you that you might want to explore during this time. Some new beliefs, new understandings, new aha, light bulb moments that come into your life. Take those things, make the most of those opportunities to explore and understand and grow the mind. Those opportunities that are presented to you during the eclipse energy will be things that will transform your life and stick with you for the next 6 months to take you into a higher state of being, you know. Faith is also represented by Jupiter. So this new moon eclipse energy can really help boost your faith, enlighten your faith, and grow your faith. If you have Saturn at 19 degrees of Aries, well, in a positive sense, even though Saturn is debilitated in Aries, a very difficult sign for Saturn to be in, the new moon can still bring a fresh start, giving you a new structure or a new foundation for life. So you might want to review how your daily routine and how you're living things and where your foundation for security and happiness is. And you might be wanting to make some changes to that as a result of the new beginning energy coming from this eclipse. You might also be experiencing new boundaries, new limitations in life. Now they could be, hopefully they're expanded, so you feel a little freer. But for some people, I will be honest, who have Saturn here, you might be feeling like life is a little more restricted. There's new boundaries, but it's more closed in than before. That can be the case. I just want to warn anybody with Saturn here that can be one expression of this energy. There is, though, however, the opportunity that this eclipse is giving you to step into a new level of maturity, to be responsible, to take on duties and a level of leadership in the world that maybe you haven't had before. There might be opportunities for you to maybe carry burdens in a different way. And it's asking you, when Saturn is involved in the eclipse in the natal chart like this, it's asking you to step up and be more grown up, be more mature, carry your burdens in a new way. Uranus at 19 degrees of Aries, well, it's been not very long since we last had Uranus here. If you've got this in your natal chart, you're probably going to be either very, very young or very, very old. But it does bring to both young and old something exciting, something unexpected, something fresh, something new, something liberating as a result of this eclipse might be occurring in your personal life if you have Uranus here. Neptune hasn't been in this point for a long, long time. I'll just touch briefly on this energy. It's unlikely that there's going to be anybody watching this with Neptune at 19 degrees of Aries. But if you did, you might be experiencing some new impulse of creativity, like the divine wanting to express through you, through poetry, through fantasy, through film, through something like that. And you're wanting to get all creative. Or you're wanting to experience some sort of glamour, or a deep spiritual experience might be the result of this eclipse energy at this point. Pluto hasn't been at 19 degrees of Aries for well over the course of a person's lifetime, so nobody's going to have this, but I will mention that the energy would be, if you did have this, something like an opportunity to transform yourself and start afresh, to have a 180-degree turnaround with how you're living your life and complete life change. Also, an opportunity might arise that will either take your power away or allow you to step into your power. And sometimes those things are tied. We lose our power in order to learn what we need to do to take back our power. It's very much the phoenix being, burnt down to ashes and then rising up again. That sort of energy is Pluto, and this eclipse would cause a situation in life that would look like that. Some loss of who you are, loss of power, loss of something, in order that you will rise up. A bit like what I described happened to me when I lost my job and we were utterly devastated and struggling in life, and then rebuilt back to a place where we could stand again. And that happened on my sun, but it's a similar expression here when you have an eclipse on Pluto in the natal chart. Now, for those who know about such things, you might want to look at the eclipse forming on your ascendant or descendant, your midheaven or your IC, any antitia points or contra-antitia points, any midpoints, any Brigabindu points that are receiving activation as well. You will know that life is about to shift for you in some significant way if you've got any of those points activated by the eclipse at 19 degrees of Aries. If you don't know what those points are all about, and where to find them and how to calculate them, there are videos on my Patreon family page that talk about these things, and you can learn all about them by becoming a Patreon family member. And now, my friends, we get to the piece de resistance of this particular video, the thing we're all looking forward to finding out about. How is this eclipse, this solar eclipse at 19 degrees of Aries, going to affect us personally? So we're going to start with Aries now. Here we are, Aries, with the new moon eclipse at 19 degrees. This means for Aries rising, sun or moon people, the eclipse on the 8th to the 9th of April is going to be happening in the first house. Okay, and this is where we can expect some sudden changes, some new beginnings and important turning points in our life. Remember, the energy of this eclipse, though, is also a little bit frustrated and stressed. So we could be frustrated and stressed with first house things too. We might be very hungry for freedom and want to break out of our situation. Saros cycle is influencing that. So this could see us perhaps wanting changes in our relationship, because this is the relationship axis. And if a change does come to any relationship in our life, either with our audience, with our clients, with business partners, with marriage and intimate partners, the desire for change and the need for change will be coming from us. This is happening in the house of you, Aries, and you're going to be the one who's like, I'm done with this. I want a new start. Let's turn over a new leaf. I've had it with my old clients, my old audience, my business partners. We're through, it's that sort of an energy. We want a new, fresh energy. We want freedom. We want to break out with some kind of relationship circumstance. Now, if it doesn't happen that way, it could indicate that some important turning point arrives with our relationship. We change the direction we've been going with our relationships with others in some way, and we are the one driving the change. Some relationships might be causing frustration and stress right now. If it's not exhibiting that way, this eclipse could bring about some frustration and stress with you, your situation in life, like with your health, particularly with the body. You're frustrated with your body. It's not as young as it used to be. You can't do what you thought you used to be able to do. I've been experiencing that. I get out and do my weights and my body can't handle quite as much as what I used to be able to do when I was in my 20s. So there can be some frustration and stress with the limitations of the body that come from this eclipse energy. And also be very careful of accidents to the body, Aries, during this time as well, that might come from you feeling like frustrated or stressed or blocked in some way. And so you push back and then everything goes to the juice. Physically, I mean, with the body. So I'm not trying to scare anybody. I'm just saying be careful. That's all. So relationships can be impacted, and we can also find the physicality can be impacted. We also might be, like, it could be quite simple. We might be frustrated and stressed with our image, with our look. Oh, I'm sick of my stringy hair and I'm going to go, that's it. I'm bursting out. I'm getting free from managing my stringy long hair. I'm going to go and get some funky short haircut. And we break out of a cycle that we've had with our looks, with our appearance in some way. So we have some desire to protect our image and our appearance, to protect our body, to survive or thrive in some new way. And we tend to instigate. First house is about instigating something new, making some sort of fresh start with our looks and our body, but also with our behavior and our attitude. You know, the first house represents how we interact with the world around us, you know, how we are showing up in the world. So be careful, because we might be showing up in a very stressed manner right now under this eclipse, and that can bring about certain effects in our life. If we rock up to work and we're irritable and, you know, people can push our buttons easily, that causes certain things to happen in our workplace that we might regret. I sound like Donald Duck, don't I, with the way I'm talking at the moment? Things that we might regret. So be very careful about how we're interacting with the world around us under this eclipse energy. Right now, when the eclipse is in the first house, it indicates how we're going to be motivated. And we're going to be very motivated, if we're an Aries rising sun or moon person, to make new starts, to turn over a new leaf, to create fresh energy in our life, because we're sick of the stagnation. We're sick of being stuck in some way. So we're making new starts, but remember, the ruler of this eclipse and the ruler of your sign, Aries, is with Saturn right now. So you're going to want this fresh start, and you're going to be putting all your energy and effort into it, but you might feel that it's not manifesting, it's blocked, it's not moving ahead the way you want to. For example, it's quite simply, you go to get that new haircut that you're going to get, and you can't get in to see the hairdresser for a month. And you're like, blockage, restriction. There's a boundary there that you can't move through, even though you want a fresh new hairstyle. Simple as that. Like, could look like that. The energy of the first house is really related to how we go about initiating things. And so what I'm describing here is that you might want to initiate things in a certain way, quickly, powerfully, enthusiastically, but there is a need to be patient. Saturn energy tying in with this. A need to be patient, a need to go slow, a need to be steady. So yes, there can be some sudden changes. Remember, as I said in the intro to this video, those changes are coming from outside of you that you don't expect, that you don't see coming, and they affect you. But the changes that you want to initiate, first house energy of this eclipse, you're going to have to be patient about. So yep, new beginnings, new changes coming externally that you can't control, but the ones you do want to control, the changes you do want to bring about, are going to cause a bit of stress and frustration and a need for patience, okay? That's how that's going to work. So yeah, physical effects, as I said, first impressions and the aura, the energy that you're giving off, relationship changes, body and accidents, be careful of those, and entrepreneurial endeavors. They are the main themes for our Aries rising sun or moon people experiencing this new moon eclipse in the first house. Now, for even more juicy details about your sign, Aries, you can get a very in-depth entire report for Aries signs at the Patreon family video version of this particular video. The link to the Patreon family is in the description below, and you can find out so much more juicy information. For Patreon family members who are watching, now we're going to do a dive into the extended version of this analysis. Moving along to Pisces, Pisces rising, Pisces sun, Pisces moon energy. Well, we have a very interesting eclipse playing out for those of us who are Pisces, because Aries is our second house, yes, but Aries for a Pisces person, or the second house for a Pisces person, is a very significant house because it's also tied to the 9th house. Because both second house and 9th house are ruled by Mars, and therefore Mars is considered to be our most auspicious planet if you're a Pisces rising person, or sun or moon, but mostly for a Pisces rising. So the eclipse forming in this connected house ruled by Mars, who is sitting in our first house, my goodness, Pisces, it's going to be a very, very interesting eclipse for us of new beginnings, sudden changes, and important turning points. Now, yes, we might be frustrated or stressed at this time about finances and about money, which is a second house thing. Remember, the ruler of our second house is currently sitting with Saturn in the first house of us. So we're very personally annoyed or stressed or whatever by financial things, you know, by our ability to have enough material stability and security in life. You might find that under this eclipse you're wanting to move ahead financially, but you're bound by debts, or you're bound by bills or tax repayments that need to be made and that kind of thing. Saturn rules all that kind of nasty stuff. And so we might be frustrated by, oh, I thought I was getting ahead and then all these bills have shown up. That can be something that happens under the eclipse. But what we can do is set the intention for a new beginning. You know, I'm going to start dealing with my bills or my grocery requirements or whatever it happens to be that, you know, we financially are obligated to. I'm going to deal with those in a different way. We turn our life around. We start to manage our finances in a different manner. Many Pisces people would benefit from doing a whole new budget under this eclipse energy for sure. And that is going to help you establish an energy of breaking out of old habits, breaking out of, you know, restrictive circumstances financially. You might also find, Pisces, that you are going to be starting something new in your life. It's a new moon energy in order to be more self-sufficient now. The second house has to do with self-sufficiency and how we can provide for ourselves. So many Pisces people might get an opportunity under this energy of the eclipse to start living more self-sufficiently. You know, you get an opportunity to establish your own vegetable garden, to grow your own veggies, or somebody gives you some money, or maybe the government gives you some money, or somebody gives you some money to put in some solar panels on your roof so that you can provide your own electricity in some way. Self-sufficiency can be in those obvious ways, but it can also be making money on your terms. Some Pisces people are going to get the chance under this eclipse energy to make money on their own now, not through, you know, working for a big organization or a big conglomerate or whatever. Many Pisces people might start maybe a side hustle, or they might even start their own business that is going to bring new financial opportunities in the coming months, years, or even 18 years ahead as part of this cycle of eclipses. So there's a turning point with finances in some way. There's a turning point with your ability to generate what you need for yourself in life. Keep your eyes peeled for new opportunities. Remember, in the original Sarah cycle of this eclipse, the original chart, it was full of sudden changes and the need and the desire for freedom. So there might be something that presents to you now that's going to give you the opportunity for freedom in the future. Trust your intuition also, Pisces. You're very intuitive naturally, we know this. Trust your intuition about what feels safe and secure to you under this influence, and go with your gut on the choices you make because of that as well. I would also say that, second house eclipse energy means that you're going to be making some changes to your self-worth and self-value. A lot of you Pisces people are going to be drawing the line now, maybe putting some Saturnian boundaries in place where you say, I'm not going to accept that anymore. I've been giving away astrology readings for free. A lot of people I know do that. A lot of people who are beginning in astrology, they're giving away their knowledge, their wisdom, their hard-won understanding for nothing. And I'm using this as an illustration, a lot of Pisces people are going to be like, you know, I can't keep doing that anymore. People are just using me and taking advantage of me and my knowledge. I value my knowledge. I value myself. I value the time and energy and money I've put into gathering my knowledge, to the point where I'm now going to start charging people. We have a shift and a change, and set some new parameters, set some new boundaries, Saturn energy in how we value ourselves and our skills and our abilities and our knowledge. Second house has to do with our self-worth and our self-valuing. What are we really worth? And a lot of you people who are watching this, Pisces rising, sun or moon, are going to start digging in as a result of this eclipse and saying, I'm worth more than this. Exciting times in that regard. Can be challenging. It might mean that you've got to navigate some ups and downs as you do that, but it's an important turning point and an important new beginning regarding second house energy. So the second house doesn't aspect the first house. We often, you'll often hear people talking about the 6th house and the 8th house being malefic houses because they don't aspect the ascendant. But that's, and also the 12th house. But the second house also doesn't aspect the ascendant too, and yet we don't hear it referred to as a malefic house in Vedic astrology. But it does represent intangible resources like our innate talents. Not the talents like in the 3rd house that we need to grow and develop and improve upon. The second house does have a reference to what we just innately are. Okay, so what natural skills and abilities do you have that can help you get the resources you need in life? This might be being illuminated for you now under this eclipse energy. You might discover, oh my goodness, this character trait, this aspect of who I am, this capability, this talent, I'm going to start using that more. Maybe you discover that you're actually, Pisces, a really good mediator. Maybe you're really good at coming up with entrepreneurial ideas. I know a lot of Pisces people who are brilliant at coming up with entrepreneurial ideas. Maybe you might be getting inspired to start a business in economic development using your entrepreneurial talent. Aries energy is entrepreneurism here in the second house to make money. And so just aside, a lot of Pisces people do very well from entrepreneurial endeavors in life, and they're very drawn to that. Such a powerful house. Remember, the second house is linked to the 9th house of divine inspiration, how you can make money, Pisces. So this eclipse is emphasizing that capability. What is it? Like, is it entrepreneurism? Is it the ability to be a good mediator? Is it the ability we're going for a walk there. Is it the ability to work well with real estate? Mars rules Aries, second house. Whatever it is that is your innate ability and skill sets that's just natural to you, what can you utilize now to help you make money going forward into the future? That might be being revealed to you under this influence. There might also be some change. Remember, this eclipse energy is about unexpected sudden change, and the second house represents financial institutions. You might be changing the bank that you bank with now for one reason or another. There might be, they're the main financial institutions we know of, don't we? But you might be changing your credit card now, or changing how you deal with money as a result of this eclipse. Maybe you've always banked through PayPal, or bought things through PayPal, and you decide, screw PayPal, they take too big a fees, I'm going to start paying cash for everything now, and so you change how you're dealing with financial institutions as a result of this eclipse energy as well. Now, Pisces, we have only just skimmed the surface of what I have to say about this energy. Let me just tell you, there is so much positivity coming from a certain way of reading this particular eclipse energy that I talk about with my Patreon family. And I'm going to dive in now for all my Patreon family members watching this and look at what else is going to occur as a result of this eclipse energy that is going to change your life. If you want to join me for that, all you got to do is go to the link in the description below, join the Patreon family, where there'll be another video, or this same video but with an extended version, where you can find out more about what this eclipse is going to do for you. Let's head there now, my beautiful Patreon friends. Okay, thank you, Pisces. Moving on now, we're going to move to Aquarius rising, sun or moon people. Thank you for joining us, Aquarius, for this analysis of the eclipse. So the eclipse that's occurring on the 8th or 9th, depending where you are in the world of April, is a new moon eclipse in Aries, which is your 3rd house. And this is where you can expect sudden changes and new beginnings and an important turning point arriving in your life. It might come with a bit of stress and a feeling like, oh, I'm restricted and I need to break out. But ultimately, there can be big changes to the 3rd house area of life. So you might get some big intuitive hunches and some psychic downloads now, Aries. You should trust them, because this is the house of our mind and our mental thought processes, and eclipses are very psychic type energy. So there can be big shifts in how you're understanding the world, aha, light bulb moments. This is also the house that has to do with our neighbors or our siblings as well. So some Aquarius people are going to see a lot of big change, maybe some frustration happening in the life of a sibling or a neighbor rather than themselves. So be there for people, support those that you love at this time, or neighbors, because there's possibly a lot of change that's coming into those people's lives, and you as a knowledge bearer can really help them during this time. Sometimes we see some news arriving. So there could be some sort of sudden unexpected news that you get that could change your life significantly now. Big turning point is also possible with your career, maybe a small business. If you run one, skills or talents that you've worked on developing, you can turn into a new opportunity for you under this influence, because this is the house of not our innate skills and talents, but the skills and talents that we have worked hard to develop. Maybe you've learned how to play an instrument and you decide, I'm going to be a busker on the streets of Melbourne. I hear they can make a lot of money, so I'm going to go play my violin down at the mall in Melbourne. That kind of thing. You've worked hard to develop a skill or a talent that now you can utilize, Aquarius, under this eclipse energy, and an opportunity might be presented to you to do so as a result of this eclipse, giving you a fresh new start with these things. There can be big changes to your point of view and your mental perspective that comes of this eclipse as well. New starts, maybe you've always thought a certain way about a certain topic, and something happens, some event occurs, and you realize, oh my gosh, I was mistaken. I'm changing my view on that. I'm changing my perspective on whatever it happens to be. Now, if you're somebody who's going to be doing some tests or exams under this eclipse energy, it might be very challenging. You might find that the mental, inspiration that you need is not coming to you as fast as you might like. Remember, the ruler of this eclipse is sitting with Saturn. There can be blockages. So do your study. Don't neglect to do the work, because you probably will need to do so in order to pass your exams and your tests well as a result of this eclipse. Then some of you might also be given opportunities and to make a fresh start with life by doing some sort of new seminar or webinar. You might be hosting a seminar or a webinar. But if somebody says to you, hey, I'm going to be going and doing this vintage styling course, and would you like to come along? Don't say no. Take every opportunity you can, Aquarius, because the things you learn about now, the courses, the webinars that you involve yourself with now are going to have a very strong, significant bearing on you for the next 6 months or so. And they might even change your life in some radical, significant way. So if somebody gives you an opportunity to do so, take it. What harm can there be in learning a new skill set, etc.? This is also the house of bravery, according to ancient astrology. And bravery of the mind, not sort of action bravery, but being strong and brave in our mind. I'm going to stand up for what I believe is true. I'm going to stand up for what I believe is right. And regarding what is true and right and worth fighting for and standing up for and being courageous and brave mentally, you might have a change of heart, a change of mind about what you think is worth getting courageous about, worth being a warrior for, especially with Aries energy here. So there could be some shifts that happen mentally regarding what you want to fight for, want to align with, want to get courageous about in some way. So they're the main influences that this new moon eclipse might be bringing into your life as a result of this eclipse occurring at 19 degrees of Aries. Now, I have so much more to share with you, Aquarius, about this eclipse energy. For full details and an expanded report on how this is going to be impacting you, you can join me at my Patreon family. The link's in the description below. Patreon members are going to get this video, but an extended version where I talk in greater depth about each sign. So do join me there if you want to know more. But for all my Patreon members watching this video, it's time to go deeper into the extended version. Thank you, Aquarius. Okay, Capricorn. Capricorn rising, Capricorn sun, or Capricorn moon. The energy of this eclipse is falling on an angular house for you, which is always important when that happens. It manifests more strongly whenever we have something on an angular house, and this is happening in the 4th house. And so this area of life is where we can expect sudden changes and new beginnings, an important turning point arriving in our life around the 8th to 9th of April as the eclipse occurs, and within that activation period I talked about in the introduction to this video. So what this eclipse might bring about is very sudden changes in the life of your family, unexpected changes. Now this can be with regard to how you're parenting your children. There might be a shift or a change, or it could be your relationship with your parents yourself. Some shift in how you are connecting with your parents, or a shift in the life of your parents that you might observe, particularly your mother. You might notice that something changes in the life of your mother, her circumstances, her career, place of living, that sort of thing. So do pay attention to your family, be there for them. Remember, as I said in the intro, act with kindness, act with love as you observe family members perhaps going through changes or a change to your own family dynamic. This is also an energy that can bring about very psychic or emotionally sensitive experiences. So I would suggest, Capricorn, trusting your intuition now, especially with regard to family circumstances and parental circumstances, as I said, but even generally, if you, like, I think there's an old Agatha Christie story called By the Pricking of My Thumbs. If you get prickling thumbs, trust that intuitive guidance, you know, or a light bulb moment or goosebumps or whatever it happens to be. You know, if you are getting some psychic download about some circumstance or situation, trust it under this eclipse energy. It will not lead you astray. There might be a significant turning point that's unfolding with a particularly, like a maternal figure. If it's not your mother, it might be a grandmother or somebody who has a role of like a maternal influence in your life. They could be moving out of your life. They could be changing residences. They could be changing the dynamic, you know, like in their own life. And, you know, you might notice a shift or a turning over a new leaf in some way in a woman's life, of course. Then for you, my beautiful Capricorn people, there could be some change or shift in energy to do with a garden, a home, or a domestic situation in your own life. Now, because the ruler of this eclipse is Mars in a conjunction here with Saturn, you might feel frustrated about a home situation. You might feel stressed about a garden situation. Maybe you've been growing passion fruits all season long and it's just about to ready to harvest, and then the vine dies and you're like, what the hell, you know? Frustration with a garden situation, frustration with a domestic home situation that this eclipse could bring about. The 4th house has to do also with our life foundation, our emotional core strength. And so you might be making a new start in that regard as well, like developing a new foundation for life, a new place, you know, where you put your sense of security and stability. So maybe you've always put your sense of security and stability in your ability to grow passion fruit and have your own veggie patch or garden, and then it's shaken by this eclipse. What this is doing is causing you to focus on and understand where you're putting your sense of foundation, you know, what you're putting your reliance on, what you're leaning on in life. This eclipse might be causing you to question where you're putting what you're leaning on in life and what you're resting on in life, and might be inviting you to make some changes to that. I've used the rather silly illustration of your garden, but it could be anything. Remember, the new moon eclipse is all about new beginnings, fresh starts, turning over a new leaf. So for many of you Capricorn people, you are starting something fresh with an emotional foundation, you know? And so I would just encourage you, because it's going to be different for everybody. What is it that you lean on in life as your core strength, your foundation for life? And is that being threatened by anything that this eclipse brings about? And how can you go with the flow and make changes without feeling like the rug is pulled out from under you? It might be worth sitting down with a journal and exploring those questions and those topics. This eclipse is, like I said, bringing about big new beginnings regarding fourth house things. Some of you, as a result of this eclipse, might be becoming parents as a result of this eclipse. Now, that's not going to happen for everyone, but for many Capricorn people, it is one of the triggers that can cause that to happen in life. Some of you might be finding a new home under this eclipse. Some of you might be deciding you need to get out of your old home and that the time there is done, it's over, it's ended, let's make a new start somewhere else. So it can represent moving to a new place quite literally. For many, or for all of us, the fourth house actually is the house that tells us about our old age and our retirement phase. So if you are in that phase of life watching this as a Capricorn person, there's likely to be a significant change to how you're experiencing your retirement, to how you're experiencing your old age. There could be a shift in some regard. I'm going to just use an illustration because there's thousands and thousands of different illustrations I could use for this, but I'm going to give you one. Let's say that you have been enjoying your old age with whatever it is, like that you're getting your money from. Let's say you're getting a pension from the government, and then the government might bring in a new rule that says you've got to spend X amount of time volunteering in the community in order to get your old age pension. And so you know there's a change and a shift to how you're experiencing your elder years because of an external change. Remember I said in the introduction to this video, solar eclipses bring external changes that affect us inwardly and affect our lives. So you decide you're going to go and volunteer at the Vinnie's or some thrift shop or something. If you are in your elder years, there's going to be a shift and a change to how you're experiencing your retirement years, your ending years, your older age. Now, and the reason I talk about that for this particular sign is because this is the house where that's being activated. Other houses in the chart do not pertain to such things, so I won't be talking about such things. I get people, just unbelievable, Capricorn, the amount of things people comment on in my comment section. But, they're saying, oh, how come you're not talking about me? I'm retired. I'm like, because it's not, there's no energy activating your retirement house for your sign at any one given point. Anyway, enough of me on my little whiny bandwagon there. I'm sorry. So what else can we say about the fourth house that this eclipse will be bringing changes to, new beginnings to? Well, as I've already alluded to, it is regarding our emotional foundation, but it is also our emotions themselves, the fourth house. So this eclipse energy might be making us feel a little bit anxious, a little bit frustrated, a little bit depressed. Be conscious of that and realize that you need to be kind to yourself now. If you're feeling exhausted because you're so frustrated and stressed about life, do something to bless your life. Maybe go to bed a little bit earlier. Make sure you're eating healthy food. Make sure that maybe you're taking time out for yourself to read a book if you need to, or to watch a movie, or to enjoy the sunshine. Do something that helps you find your balance emotionally again, because this eclipse can really upset the bandwagon in that regard. But know that it is just a cycle. It's not a permanent state of being, and things will eventually shift. Okay, so the fourth house energy, just to conclude this section for my YouTube followers, it represents external blockages that we have to success in life. And remember that the solar eclipse does pertain to external events. So it's possible, not for everybody, but it is possible that this eclipse might bring some blockages or events that occur in our life that impede our ability to have the success we long for. They can delay, maybe we want to publish a book and there's some delay to the publishing contract. Maybe our book was due out in May and then we get a message from our publishing company, I'm sorry, but we're going to have to push back the publishing of your book until September. And you're like, oh, frustrated. There's a blockage or a delay or a waiting for the success that you're aiming for. Fourth house represents, by the various planets that form there from time to time, the particular blockages we might be experiencing to external success in life. So with an eclipse there could be a delay for about 6 months or so to something we were trying to manifest and hoping we would manifest. I just share that with you to be forewarned, forearmed. It may give you a chance, though, to make a new start, a new beginning with whatever that success is. So that delay might give you a chance to review your manuscript and make some changes that you missed, and make your story that much better. So when it is actually published, boom, it's going to be exceptional. Remember I said in the intro to this video, don't see the limitations of an eclipse or the problems that come out of an eclipse as being the be all and end all. See it as an opportunity to help you move into your destiny. That's what eclipses are all about. North Node energy, new beginnings. So if there is an external blockage to the success you're looking for, see it as an opportunity to refine, review, and rejig what it was you were doing to make it better and to move more powerfully into the success you're striving for. So my friends, Capricorn, this is just a small snippet of what I wanted to talk about for the eclipse and how it will be affecting you personally. If you would like to know more about this powerful eclipse, all you've got to do is go to the link in the description below, join the Patreon family, where you'll get this video in an extended format where I talk much longer about what each sign is going to experience. And if you're a Patreon member watching this video, it's now time to dive in deeper with Capricorn energy. Thank you, Capricorn. Moving along, we're going to be looking at Sagittarius. Sagittarius rising, sun or moon people. Well, if you are a Saggy, the eclipse is going to be falling in the very auspicious 5th house. So this is where you're going to be experiencing some sort of sudden change and the opportunity for a new beginning. And there's an important turning point that is arriving in your life with this placement. But it might come with a bit of frustration and stress because, as we've talked about in the intro to this video, the ruler of the eclipse is Mars conjunct with Saturn right now. So this is happening around the 8th to the 9th of April, depending on where you live in the world. So if you're in a boyfriend-girlfriend kind of situation in life, you might be experiencing some sort of dynamic change. This is the house of our love relationships, our boyfriend-girlfriend relationships. This can indicate that there might be some stress and desire for freedom and wanting to break out that might come to a love relationship, meaning you might separate from a boyfriend or girlfriend now. If that's what happens, then the relationship was not part of your destiny and purpose. Remember, in the introduction to this video, I talked about how eclipses are always designed to take us more into our reason for incarnation. So that person, if they leave your life now, was not meant to be in your life. We need to enjoy the times that we are cycled to have with others in our life, and when they leave, when they go, we need to hold that lightly and not be clinging and making life harder for ourselves than it needs to be by grasping and clinging on. There could be some opportunities that come the way of a Sagittarius person to show your natural creativity now. If that is the case, you need to take it. 5th house energy is our creative expression, our creative intelligence. So this could look like an offer of a film role or a theatre production opportunity or some sort of art show, maybe an opportunity to get a contract for a novel you've written or something like that that might manifest for you. Some of you Sagittarius people might be feeling very inspired under this eclipse energy in Aries to undertake some sort of creative expression. You might be, all of a sudden get an idea for a wonderful theatre production or a song you want to write and perform, or some kind of a film role, a film script you want to write. This sort of thing can be very much the energy of the eclipse in the 5th house for you. So if you get inspired during the eclipse activation period to do some sort of creative work, don't ignore it. Don't shove it under the rug. Don't say, oh, I'll think about that later. Grab it and run with it. This eclipse energy is your friend under this influence. And I'll talk more about why for Sagittarius this is a very auspicious eclipse when we get to the Patreon breakdown. for Patreon people. But a little bit more for our YouTube family. Some people, some of you Sagittarius people might get very lucky. This is a house of luck, and you might even win some kind of a prize under this energy. This is a house of celebrity, and there might be an opportunity for you to rise in celebrity status if that's something you desire and hunger for at this time. Now, that said, remember that the ruler of this eclipse is conjunct with Saturn. So it might not happen during the eclipse activation period that you get the opportunity to maybe talk to a celebrity or be recognized by a celebrity that boosts your own profile. It may actually happen over time. Saturn takes a little longer for things to manifest. So Saturn can hold back that celebrity empowerment of the fifth house to the point where you might get an inkling of it during the eclipse activation phase, but the actual manifestation might not occur until 6 months down the track from this eclipse. So keep that in mind if you're looking for an opportunity during the next couple of weeks. It might actually not manifest until later. Like, for example, you might, I don't know, you might want to appear on Joe Rogan or something like that. So you send an email to Joe Rogan's booking agent, and he acknowledges you, but nothing comes of it until 6 months later. Could look like that. Remember also that this is a rather surprising energy. Eclipses always are, and of course the beginning of this Saros cycle had a lot of Uranian influence upon it. So there might be some sort of romantic gestures or opportunities for fun and entertainment for you to enjoy that come in a manner that you're unaware of, in a surprising way. You might find that you find out somebody's keen on you. They've been in love with you for ages and you had no idea. You might be invited to a concert all of a sudden, or a museum exhibition, or out to a restaurant in the center of town or something. Some kind of influence on fun and joy and happy experiences. The fifth house energy is also our childlike heart. And this eclipse, I feel, is encouraging you to get back in touch with your childlike heart. So you might have an opportunity to enjoy something that you really loved doing when you were 10 years old. Getting back into the joy that you experienced as a child at that age. Even if, not all of us had wonderful childhoods, but there would have been something, I think, that brought you joy as a child that you get the opportunity to re-experience with this eclipse. The fifth house is also sports that we enjoy, not professional sports, but simply enjoyment, games that feel like fun to us, recreational activities that are pleasant, like parties and, going out dancing and that kind of thing. So for many Sagittarius people, there might be a new opportunity to enjoy a sport you've never tried before and you just love it, or to go out to a dance club that you've never been to before and it's just the best night of your life. You've had a ball. So we're seeing lots of celebratory, fun events. One really cool thing about the fifth house is that it is the house of good karma from past lives. So having an eclipse here stirs up the energy of the good karma from past lives. So, if you were a, really top dude in a past life and, you haven't received your just rewards in this incarnation for the good things you did in a past life, then they may manifest for you now under this eclipse. How exciting. It can also mean, if you're not a believer in reincarnation, that it could be something from early this life where you were kind or generous or good or helped somebody out, and now it's going to potentially have the ability to come back to bless you in some way. This is look, I have to be honest and talk frankly about eclipse energy. This is the placement that can indicate a parent's death because it's the 8th house from the 10th. So for some people, not all people at all, there needs to be other significators apart from just an eclipse in your 5th house. There need to be much more than just that. But for some people watching this, there might be a passing of a parent into the next life, or into the divine realm. It's not the end. It's just a new beginning, essentially. But this is the house that can indicate a parent's death because it's the 8th house from the 10th, as I said. It can also represent a death and rebirth experience for a parent So maybe a parent decides to retire. That's a whole like death of their career portion of life and moving into a whole new rebirthing of how they're living their life as a retired person. So it could look like that. There's a death and rebirth metaphoric expression that comes with this placement as well for one or another parent. It's also the realm of the chart that has to do with changes in career, the reinvention of our career, the reinvention of our public reputation. It can also represent sudden reversals in career. So let's just say, my Sagittarius friends, if you're going into this eclipse period without a job, let's say, or in a career that you hate, then this eclipse can turn that around 180 degrees. You might get the job of your dreams, or you might move out of a career that you are hating into something that feels as comfortable and right as your favorite pair of slippers. It just feels good. Can look like that. So transformation of career and reinvention of career. Let's say, you know, you've been working in a career and you've been there a long time and you're thinking, I've really got to bring some change about. So you modify or reinvent how you're doing the particular career that you're doing. It doesn't necessarily mean a job loss. I did have my the eclipse that I always talk about that took me into astrology. My sun is in my Campanus 5th house. So it does have to do with those sorts of energies, a complete loss of career in order to take us into our full meaning and purpose. So if that does happen, and I'm not saying it's going to happen to everyone, it kind of depends on where you're at right now with the job you've got and how you view it and how you feel about the job you've got. If you are not really liking the job that you've got, which was my situation, I will add, I was doing the best I could, but it didn't feel like me. If you're in a job and it doesn't feel good to you, then it's likely there's going to be a change. If you're in a job and it's like, this is the best thing I've ever done, I love this job, I love the people I work with, I love the work that I do, it is so purposeful and meaningful, well, then you're not going to lose your job or career. You might actually get some sort of an opportunity that comes your way to make it better, to lift it to the next level. So please don't think that it's all disaster, disaster. 5th house is a lucky house. Whenever we have a shift and change in career because of this sort of energy, it's always going to mean we tend to land on our feet like a cat with 9 lives, even if we lose a position, as I did all those years ago, and reinvented my career to become an astrologer here for you today. So reinvention that leads to really good outcomes. And remember, it's the house of good karma. So what you're doing is potentially moving into a career that is your karmic good destiny, the reward karma for the work that you've done and how you've been preparing. So I see this as a very, very powerful time in so many ways for our beautiful Sagittarius rising, sun and moon people. Do be careful, because the one warning with this energy is if we are burnt out and fatigued and lose our joy, or actually if we end up feeling burned out and fatigued, it will be because we've lost our joy and happiness in life. So do all you can to avoid feeling that energy of Saturn with Mars, that frustration, that restriction, that blockage on your joy, on your happiness. Be present in the moment. Enjoy where you're at right now and all the good things about where you're at right now, even if there's a lot of difficulty. Find the good, find the joy, find the hope, and be in that energy, because out of that blossoms all the beautiful opportunities and the joys of the 5th house energy. Charge up your joy, my friends. That's the calling for Sagittarius people in this eclipse. Now, if you're a Saggy person and you want to know more about what this eclipse is bringing you, I have so much more to tell you, so much more to say. But you need to be a Patreon member to get the rest of this reading. So you can just head to the link in the description below and join Patreon family to watch the rest of what I have to say for you. And if you're a Patreon member, away we go now with the rest of this reading. Thank you, Sagittarius. Now we're moving on to Scorpio. Scorpio rising, Scorpio sun, and Scorpio moon people. Well, if you are a Scorpio This means that the eclipse is falling in your 6th house. And this is where you can expect around the eclipse on the 8th or 9th of April, wherever you are in the world, and the week before or the week after, you can expect sudden changes and new beginnings in a 6th house realm. It's also an important turning point that could arrive in 6th house fields. You may also feel somewhat stressed and frustrated because of this energy, I have to say, because it's ruled by Mars, who's in a difficult position right now. And there may also be a need for freedom and wanting to break out of difficult cycles. The 6th house is a difficult, malefic house. So we're going to talk about some heavy stuff here. But I will be talking with my Patreon family about how this expression can be used for good and can be empowering in the Patreon portion of this video. But when it comes to 6th house energy, we might be feeling highly sensitized to the pain of other people under this eclipse. It can be a time when confrontational situations can arise because there's this feeling of wanting to break out and burst out. There's this frustrated energy, a stressed energy because of the ruler Mars being with Saturn. And so any feelings that, of agitation we're having emotionally may come bursting out when we least expect it, and then we're like shocked at how we behaved or maybe how others behave towards us. We might need to have some good strategies in place, Scorpio, to protect our energy and our vibration at this time. So whatever you need to do in order to be in that good space, do so. Whether you need to, be burning incense 24 hours a day or, having a special time of meditation in the morning when you get up, listening to high vibrational music and that kind of thing to keep you in that high vibrational state. Whatever you need to do, do so. Have a plan. Those who plan are less likely to have the rug pulled out from under them. They're prepared. Now, in the positive for this placement, there could be a big shift and a big change with a health issue. Remember, this is about sudden changes and sudden new beginnings. If you've been dealing with a health issue, this can indicate that it's a whole new starting point. You're turning over a new leaf with your health in some way. Could be a court issue that's happening in the same manner. Maybe you've been battling with a difficult person in your life and driving you crazy. Well, there might be a whole new start with that person. Can I just say that forgiveness is very important when we're dealing with 6th house energy. You don't have to go up to people and humiliate yourself, by asking for forgiveness when, it's not really warranted. But it is about within you forgiving somebody else, because forgiveness heals your life. Don't worry about the other person even. Like, you need to forgive yourself. And forgiveness really has a bearing on our digestive system in so many ways. So, if you really want to get healthier under this eclipse cycle, learn to forgive. Go and apologize where you need to apologize and forgive where you need to forgive. But mostly within yourself, let it go. Stop clinging to the victimhood in order to free yourself in some way. Now, the 6th house is an earthly house. It relates to the daily activities of our body. So there might be some new starts in that regard, new beginnings. You might be, just changing the routine of your day in a significant way for some reason. You might be caring for your body in a new way that feels more aligned with you now. New diet, new exercise program, learning to use your body well at whatever age you're at. This is all part of the energy that we need to work with for this eclipse. The 6th house also pertains to our ability to use our skills to make money because it's the 2nd house from the 5th. So some of you might be making a new start with where you can earn an income from your talents. Remember, the 5th house is creative intelligence. So what do you do in your life that is exhibiting your creative intelligence? I always tell my children, you've heard me say this before, I'm sure, write down 5 things you're good at and 5 things you love to do. If there's any correspondence between those 2 lists, then you know that is a skill that you can utilize. It's a 5th house expression. And you might be able to use that to make money. In fact, an opportunity for that, or you might get a revelation for how you can do that from this eclipse energy forming in the 6th house of where we use our skills to help us make money. This is really, this eclipse is about balancing the body and the spirit. Balancing what we eat, with the output of energy that we give, healing the body through practical means and creating more harmony in life. If you're a workaholic, this eclipse can be very detrimental. You might get so stressed out and, you know, your hair starts falling out or something. So it's calling you to get back in balance, to heal that. If you are too lazy and always like in your victimhood, then you need to get back in balance by starting to contribute to the world and be in service to the world. I'll just say, 6th house is one of the most important houses in the horoscope because it's where we burn our old shitty karma through service and contribution. If you're not serving, if you're not contributing, then you're probably living in victimhood, and that does nobody any good, especially your own karma. But it's through service that you can heal your shit karma. This eclipse might be highlighting for you, whether you realize it or not, ways you can do that. And I know I'm probably going to get a million comments in the comment section. Well, I've been too sick to serve. I say rubbish. You can pray for someone. You can send a kind note to someone. That's an act of service. You don't have to be out there scrubbing floors and cleaning toilets and whatever else. You can be serving through sharing and giving love, support, good vibes, energy, prayers, all that sort of thing. I'm sorry, I've just gone off on my bandwagon. Do forgive me, my beautiful Scorpio friends. I just know the kind of comments I'm likely to get in the comments section. Sorry about that. The 6th house represents where we struggle and why we struggle. And so with an eclipse energy forming here, it's likely you're going to realize and be shown why you're struggling. Don't ignore it. Don't shove that, you know, revelation under the rug and keep on keeping on the way you always have. You are being shown why you're struggling in life so that you can change it, so that you can fix the circumstance, so you can bring life back into harmony, be that with health, with finances, with career, with relationships, whatever. Pay attention under this eclipse because revelations will be had regarding how to make life work better for you and bring back more balance. Be careful of workaholism. Be careful of the opposite, being too lazy. They can manifest. You can be shown, you know, where these things are manifesting in your life by difficulties. If you're a workaholic, like I said, you get so stressed, something happens. And that's the universe trying to get your attention to get back on track with work-life balance. Same if you're being a lazy bugger. So one thing that we do suggest that is a good thing to do during the activation of a 6th house energy is clean your house and your cupboards. You know, you hear it said all the time, you know, a cluttered house equals a cluttered mind. It's actually true. If you want to get the best out of this eclipse energy so that it blesses you more than it stresses you, clean out your cupboards, donate to Goodwill what you need to donate, get the dust out, you know, clear the spider webs away, make your home space more balanced and harmonious, as within, so without, as without, so within. It works, believe me, it works. So keep humble, my beautiful Scorpio friends. Clean, fix, explore the depths of your life, and do what needs to be done to create more harmony and balance. Now, I have so much more that I want to tell you, Scorpio, and I'm going to do so, and it's really actually quite good news. I'm going to do so in the Patreon report, which is basically this video, but with extended readings for all signs. So join the Patreon family by going to the link in the description below. And for my Patreon members who are watching this, now let's find out what else is in store for you. Alrighty, thank you, Scorpio. Moving on now to Libra. Libra, rising, sun, or moon people, the energy of the eclipse is falling in your 7th house. This is a pivotal house because it's an angular house. And this on the 8th and 9th of April and the preceding week and the subsequent week are when you might see manifestation of sudden changes and new beginnings forming in your life. It's an important turning point relationally, and there can be some frustration and stresses that go along with this placement. You might even be feeling the need for freedom, not the need for speed, as they say in Top Gun, but the need for freedom and the desire to break out can be also part of this energy. So relationships, because this is on the relationship axis, and we know as a Libra person, relationships and collaborations are a big focus for you. any relationship or collaboration, business, personal, whatever, that hasn't been working well this can manifest in a number of ways, but it could see a shift in dynamic that takes the relationship into a more positive expression, an expression that feels good. It's an up-leveling energy, especially as the sun the sun exalted in Aries is the key luminary in this dynamic. So really what we can see here is a shift in dynamic that takes your relationship into a more positive level. Relationships that have been working well. Even if there's been a little bit of argy-bargy or difficulty, if the relationship at its core is strong and the love is deep, then it can go to the next level of positivity. If you're in a relationship that is strained, that hasn't been working well, that feels like, and this is a metaphor from Cressy that I love, for your relationship's like an apple that's sitting loosely on the tree, could fall off at any moment, then this eclipse is going to shake that tree, and what's going to happen to the apple? Boof, it just falls off straight away. Relationships that are strained are likely to break apart under an eclipse energy, particularly if you have your ascendant or descendant around 19 degrees here. So something is likely to happen that will have you walking on eggshells and you're just like, I can't take this anymore, it's done. But you've got to ask, if that's what occurs, was this the relationship for you? Is this, where your destiny lay? And maybe it wasn't, for the person that you're in relationship with, as well as yourself. That's another manifestation. Another manifestation is that if you're single, this can sometimes bring an energy of falling in love with somebody new who comes into your life now. Somebody comes in and shakes you out of a rut, makes you feel alive, Eclipse energy stirs up the 7th house commitment factor. Now in my When Will Love Come course, or if you get a love reading from me, I will talk about the different indicators that stir up energy for a new relationship entering into your life. I talk about that, and this is just one of them. So you kind of need more than just an eclipse, I would suggest, but it is a powerful one nonetheless. So yes, some of you may be experiencing new love. If you are not interested in any kind of relationship at all, be it business, client, audience, I had some lovely person leave a comment a couple of weeks ago about, I don't have any relationships. So how is this ever applicable to me? I'm like, I think everybody's got some sort of relationships going on in their life with someone, This is the house of other people. This is the house of you. The eclipse is falling in the house of all other people. But if you don't think you have any relationships that might be pertaining to this eclipse, you might be experiencing some changes in eclipse energies that bring about a shift with a court case, with a negotiation, with a contract, with a lawyer. If you're signing for a new lease agreement, there could be an energy of change and frustration, because that's the energy of this eclipse ruled by Mars with Saturn in the 6th house, no less. Frustration with a new lease agreement or a bank contract that you're trying to set up, or maybe you've applied to get a permit from the council for something, and it's taking longer than you thought. It's being held up left, right and center. Or maybe you want to build it to do an extension on your house, and the contract had a lot of fine detail that you didn't read, and now it's proving difficult, and there's some blockage and there's some restriction there. Any kind of contract is seen through the 7th house. Do I have to spell? No, I don't have to spell out every single kind of contract that there is. But this is an energy. The eclipse can bring blockage. The eclipse can slow down the process with whatever that contract happens to represent in your life. So do be aware of that too. In fact, I would suggest that signing contracts under the energy of the eclipse is not a good thing to do. However, if you are signing a contract that gets rid of something out of your life that you want gone, for example, like a divorce contract would be an example of that, or a business contract that ends a long-running business association that you've had a gutful of, this may be a good time to sign a contract. So if there's an ending involved in a contract, this eclipse energy can be good for that, because it will, whatever happens under the energy of eclipse is done for good. And it's usually karmic, and it usually ends karma. So, it's not a good time for starting something new with a contract, but I would suggest that it's probably a good time for ending something with a contract. Yeah, this is so interesting, Libra. This is the realm of life that tells us how we perceive other people to be, how other people treat us. In a natal chart, you'd look at the Lord of the 7th house and where it sits to get a good understanding of how, other people treat us and how we perceive other people to be treating us. But when the eclipse energy is falling here, and we know that it's somewhat freedom-loving, well, freedom-seeking, and it's an energy like Mars-Saturn blockage as well, we might get the impression that other people are potentially shaking us out of a rut and bringing us to a state of more freedom. That's one way it could manifest, through the Uranus in the Saros cycle influence. Or it could actually be telling us that we might have experiences where people are frustrating us, they're critical of us during this time, or we're perceiving them to be that way. Mars-Saturn conjunction, Mars ruling the eclipse. So be conscious that there might be some irritation because of other people in your life during this eclipse season. This is also the house of balance and fairness and justice. When the sun is eclipsed, it disappears momentarily for minutes from the sky. And, the two luminaries are what we're looking at here. We've got the moon is dark because she's new, and then the sun is darkened because the moon moves across the sun. So it does speak to us of energy, fairness, and justice being missing for a time. So fair warning here, my beautiful Libran friends, of which I am a Libran moon. There might be a feeling during this eclipse activation period that there is somehow balance and fairness and justice missing from the world. I will just share with you that I have been feeling that a little as we head into this time. Just feeling like, in my family situation, we keep putting a certain circumstance out there, doing all we can to deal with a certain circumstance in our life. On the physical realm, we're putting in, we're showing up, we're doing the work. And it's like, come on, universe, where are you? Why are you not showing up to do your part? It feels like the whole situation that I'm not going to refer to with specifics here, but it feels like there's an imbalance between what we're giving and what the universe is giving. And that is very indicative of this eclipse energy for the activation period in the house of balance, fairness, and justice. Somehow it kind of goes missing. But don't worry. This is a cycle, and it will end as the moon becomes new, and as the activation period ends, balance and harmony will be restored, and you might find that there's a whole new beginning with your life that feels more balanced and more harmonious and more in alignment. And I feel that this is particularly something that your partners will experience, my beautiful Librans. So if you are in a partnership or have an agreement or an alliance or promise or a vow or a treaty with somebody, then it's likely that they are the one who's going to feel a little bit out of balance, like things aren't quite working the way you would ordinarily hope them to, that then will realign itself in their life for the good, for the better, as this activation period ends. So it's mostly in our partners that we're going to see this happening. And as with regard to relationship upheavals that we've already talked about, they're going to be instigated from outside of you, Libra, because it's all forming in the house of the other. So if your relationship has been precarious, then your partner is going to end it, not you. If your relationship has been fantastic, then it's going to be taken to the next level of love and intimacy and depth by your partner, not you, because the eclipse energy is forming in the house of the partner. All the activation for a Libran person under this eclipse energy is coming from the other. So there's a lot to say there, Libra, and I have so much more to tell you as well. And it's pretty good, I've got to say. I can't wait to share the insights I have with you on my Patreon page about what else this eclipse is doing for us. So you can get the entire report. It's a video, pretty much this video, but with an extended portion for each sign. Just go to the link in the description below and join the Patreon family. And if you are already a Patreon member, then hang on to your hats. It's time for us to go in deeper for the Libran energy. Moving along, thank you, Libra. We are going to explore the energy of this eclipse for Virgo rising, sun or moon people who are having this eclipse forming in the 8th house. Now, this is an event that's happening on the 8th or 9th of April, and this is an area, Virgo, where you're going to expect the unexpected, expect sudden changes, expect some new beginnings and a big important turning point. And the 8th house is like double whammy of this energy, because the 8th house is about sudden changes and new beginnings and brand new, turning over new leaves and cycles anyway. When an eclipse occurs in the 8th house, it's like ultra heavy energy in that regard. It's also a psychic energy, so amazing intuitive downloads can happen now. Trust those goosebump moments, Virgo. Premonitions, prophetic influences, just an inner knowing. It's on point at this time. Now, the sun is the main indicator in this combination. So men, which are ruled by the sun, might be a source of healing for you now. 8th house is a healing house. So if you've been, trying to find a sense of harmony or healing, particularly psychological healing is 8th house, it's a man that might help you do that. Somebody might recommend a psychologist to you, somebody might recommend seeing a male astrologer, and it's through that person that you find your in some way. But really, 8th house energy brings a big season of change, rebirth, and regeneration. Life is about to change in quite a remarkable way for you, Virgo. It's a turning point. 180-degree turns around. Now, this could start in a very frustrated manner because we've got the ruler of this eclipse, Mars, with Saturn. And that can bring this energy of tenseness and frustration. So there could be some irritation in the beginning during this eclipse activation period. But ultimately, that's going to lead to some change, some rebirth, some regeneration that is powerful. So it's going to feel initially like a roller coaster. 8th house energy is the roller coaster energy. I loved roller coasters as a kid, not so keen on them these days. But there is this frustrated energy that could lead to then up to a state of blessing, and then maybe down. It's going to be a ride. Sorry to say, but ride it out as best you can, because, and I'll be talking about this with my Patreon family, the extended reading, there is blessing associated with this combination ultimately. The 8th house is about any external sources of assistance that we might have in life, the support, the emotional backup, the physical backup, the financial backup, the moral support that we get from others is seen through the 8th house. And so this brings us a new beginning with these things. We might have felt like nobody was there for us, and then this eclipse happens and suddenly we've got somebody who's got our back. It's such a great, empowering feeling. That can happen. It's also the house of, physical inheritance and wills and payouts and windfalls. Now, I am not of the impression that this is going to happen in a big way during the eclipse activation period, but it may play out more and more and more over the next 6 months of this eclipse energy, because I think this Saturn-Mars conjunction is going to hold it back a little, cause some delays and blockages and restriction to any kind of wills and payouts and windfalls. So you might hear a whisper or some news that, Nana's going to leave you, her fancy car, but nothing comes of that whisper that you hear until like 6 months down the track. So be aware that that could be how this plays out. It's just the sense that I'm getting from this eclipse. How we share our resources, talents, and valuables with other people is also seen through the 8th house, our ability to share. The 2nd house opposite it is what we keep for ourselves. The 8th house is what we give. It's quite a fabulous house, I think, the 8th house. So this could be, unfortunately, this is a bit of a frustrated energy. So you might want to give, you might want to be generous, Virgo, but it's hard to do so under this energy because of the frustration and the blockage that is here. You know, you might want to support and help other people in some material way or emotional way, but there's something holding you back from doing so. Just know that that's probably the eclipse energy, and there's a reason for that. Don't beat yourself up if you can't be as generous as you would like. This is a good time, I would suggest, for reaching out to the mystical healers that you know, energy healers, Reiki healers, psychologists, astrologers, shamans, that kind of stuff, because their energy is heightened psychically by an eclipse occurring in this area of the chart. So the readings that you get, the insights that you receive, the energy healing you get can be amplified and be very beneficial in that regard. So it is a good time for that sort of thing. Book in now while you can, lest you be blocked and restricted by Saturn Mars. But be very careful, my Virgo friends, because this is the house of accidents and catastrophes. Just move with caution. Don't do anything stupid. Don't climb up on the roof to pull out the weeds in the gutter and then, fall off the roof. Just put that aside. That job can wait until after the eclipse activation energy is over. Don't put yourself in precarious positions when you've got this eclipse energy forming in the 8th house. But I do see this as being a very pivotal time for rebirthing into a whole new way of life. And that could happen on any level. In an intimate relationship, in a career, in financial circumstances. There is a rebirth thing that's going on. You're going to feel like a whole new person after the next 6 months has played out. So really it is also a house of initiation, spiritual, mystical initiation. This is why our dark nights of the soul moments are actually our greatest initiation into deeper consciousness. And I do feel not that this eclipse is going to bring a dark night of the soul energy into your life. This isn't the kind of energy that does that. That's something else that we look at in the chart. But what I do think is that anything that comes now that feels a bit upheavalish, a bit like a crisis, a bit like the rug being pulled out from under you, it is going to be your teacher. And it is going to help you move into a greater level of understanding and wisdom and consciousness that will be a source of empowerment for you in many, many years to come. So you've got what it takes to get through whatever the universe presents you with now, Virgo. You really do. So trust yourself, listen to your internal guidance, know that whatever happens now is about to grow you into a deeper state of consciousness. Now, I have so much more to tell you about this energy, my beautiful Virgo friends, but you need to join the Patreon family to find out more from me. So you can do so through the link in the description below. And for my Patreon members who are watching this video, it's time to find out more. Alrighty, Leo rising, Leo sun, Leo moon people. Well, what an interesting eclipse this is for you. It is falling in your 9th house, which is a very auspicious placement to be having an eclipse, I must say. The new moon eclipse in Aries on the 8th or 9th of April, depending where you are in the world, can bring a lot of sudden changes and new beginnings to us all. But here it's falling in one of the blessing houses because it trines the ascendant. So it's going to bring a big change to the trajectory of your life, to how you're living your life. So this can mean that a turning point with some sort of out-of-date belief system happens for you now. Suddenly you get philosophical insights that are like penny drop moments, and the knowledge base that you operate from is just broadened in some way. Your ethics and morals change as a result of this eclipse energy. A new beginning might happen for you with another culture now. You might be drawn to go and live in another culture, or at the very least, might set the wheels in motion for moving to another culture, immigrating to another culture. This can definitely sort of start to happen now. It's probably a good energy, this eclipse energy, to sort of, if you need to apply for visas or immigration documents and what have you, this eclipse can actually be somewhat supportive of that undertaking. This is also an energy that indicates that you might be beginning some sort of new relationship with an inspirational figure or a teacher. You might get a new mentor or a new guru in your life in some way. For example, you know, you're hunting around on YouTube and you discover someone who's just speaking your language and you're like, I love this person, I love what they got to share, I want to know more of their wisdom and their insight. That can happen as a result of this eclipse as well. This is a very prophetic house, and so I would encourage you to trust your intuition now because of this eclipse energy. Trust your hunches. They're likely to be on point. They're likely to be giving you prophetic insights. This is also the realm of the chart that has to do with our second life partner. So if you are somebody who is looking for a second partnership, this is one of the activations that can bring that person into our lives, if that's what you're looking for. You need more than just this though, but this is one of the key factors that can trigger it to happen if you're looking for a second husband or wife. It is also a combination that can trigger, like I've said, a relocation to another country. And because the energy is cardinal here, Aries energy, you're more likely to move if the opportunity arrives. So that can be the case. It's not just moving to the next suburb. This is moving to another country. So not all Leos will experience that, but it is possible for many Leos. This is also a house where we can overdo things and take things to excess. It has a natural correspondence to Jupiter, and the shadow side of Jupiter is excess, too much of a good thing. So in the shadow side, and there's shadow side to everything, even the blessed ninth house, it can mean that, you know, you are too frustrated. Remember, the ruler of this energy, Aries energy, is Mars in conjunction with Saturn. So there's a feeling of frustration and limitation and blockage here. You want to move overseas, let's say, you're ready to go, but it feels like there's obstacles in the way, or it feels like there's duties and responsibilities, Saturn energy, that are keeping you stuck. Doesn't mean you can't start the ball rolling, doesn't mean that in time things will ease off a little bit, but in the beginning to have a quick manifestation might feel a little bit on the slow side. Higher learning is a ninth house energy as well, and there could be some frustration with higher learning that might unfold potentially. It feels like it's being held back from you, or you're not getting there as quick as you want to. That's just that Saturn-Mars energy conjunction of frustration as well. Again, it will pass. Hang in there, persevere, be mature, be stoic, which are the energies of Saturn that we need to get through that time. The ninth house has to do with our purpose and our mission and what gives our life a sense of meaning. In other words, our dharma. And it is possible that during this eclipse cycle, we are given an illumination regarding, this is my purpose, this is my meaning, this is what I'm here to do. The revelation of what your dharma is might come to you during this eclipse period. Whether you can actively put it into action straight away is another matter, but the knowledge and the understanding is certainly there for you. So, you know, it's a great time to do some introspective work, to explore, you know, what is it that I want to do? What do I want my life to look like? Where do I want to be in 5, 10, 15 years' time? How do I get there? Do some planning, do some dreaming, do some praying, do some meditating on your purpose and your mission, because the universe is ready and waiting to reveal it to you because of this eclipse energy. It's a time when you may actually, Leo, find your truth and your meaning and purpose, as I said. Some of you Leo people might be stepping into more freedom and liberation at this time as well. Very, very powerful in that regard. This is, the Vedics see this house as the most blessed house in the horoscope. I think in Western cultures we probably see the 5th house as the most blessed house because it has to do with luck and fortune. This is a more spiritual blessing. The sort of the energy of this house has to do with having a peace about our lives and a faith that the universe has our back. And in the more spiritual oriented countries, it's the ninth house that people hunger for rather than the money and the luck in that sense of the fifth house. But because this eclipse energy is activating and stirring up the ninth house, you may find some spiritual truth and liberation, meaning, purpose, faith, joy that helps your life be more enjoyable and more balanced. This is the fifth house from the fifth though, so it does indicate perfected love. And of course, this energy of a new moon can bring new beginnings. So for some people, there is new love or a more in-depth love experience with the people that you already love in your life. There's good karma here from the ninth house, so blessing comes to Leo people with this energy as well. So this eclipse is likely to bring events that bless you as a result of the good things you've done in past lifetimes, the good ways you've led others or blessed others or supported others. It comes back to you now. This is an energy of karmic reward. So if you can, rest assured that that's what you've been like in a past life, or if you don't believe in reincarnation, maybe earlier this life, if you've been a good person as much as you're able to be, then this is a time when the reward can be felt and experienced. You might also find that this eclipse energy activates sort of eureka moments, like, aha, I get it, I understand, just a revelationary period. Now, I have so much more to tell you, Leo, about what this energy is doing for you. And it's, believe me, it's very, very good for you, Leo. Very, very good. I want to tell you all about it. But to do so, you'll have to join me at the Patreon family. The link's in the description below. Come join me there. And now, for my Patreon members who are already watching the video with its extended reports, it's time to go in deeper. Alrighty, moving on from Leo to Cancer, Cancer rising, Cancer sun, Cancer moon people. The energy of the new moon solar eclipse is forming for you in Aries, naturally enough, your 10th house. So this is where you're going to experience some sudden changes and new beginnings as a result of the eclipse on the 8th or 9th of April, depending where you are in the world. It's an important turning point to do with career, to do with parents, and to do with leadership and reputation. What does it mean? It can mean that there might be changes in the life of one of your parents, particularly sort of the more father figure person, the one who wears the pants, be that the masculine parent or the feminine parent. There could also be a turning point related to the maternal figure as well, because this is opposing the house of the mother. So it's possible that, a change is being experienced in the life of a mother or a father. They might be, retiring, they might be shifting house, they might be starting a new life in some manner. There is a change that this eclipse can be bringing you, particularly if this is falling on your midheaven or your midheaven. The sun is the main indicator of this solar eclipse, and it represents men in authority, especially when it's in the 10th house in this way. So potentially a significant man or authority figure, celebrity, somebody who's popular, somebody who has a level of authority in the world, might catapult you, my Cancer friends, into some sort of greater worldly success and recognition as a result of events that happen during this eclipse. Now, there could be a level of frustration and stress that comes with this happening. Maybe somebody invites you to talk on their podcast or something like that, and you can't quite be there on the day that they want you to be there, so you have to set up another time or something. Aries energy is ruled by Mars in conjunction with Saturn, sort of blockage and delay and feeling a little bit frustrated. But don't worry, because the eclipse, the sun is exalted in Aries, and the promise is still good. It's a upachaya house that this is forming in, so things are going to get better, and that frustration and stress is going to dissipate more and more and more as this eclipse activation energy plays out over the next 6 months. But certainly the potential to rise in success and recognition is available to you with this exalted sun eclipse in Aries. It can ultimately generate a new position of leadership for you, Cancer. Like I said, there's a tension here before this happens, but it's a turning point just the same. Turning point for career and for the way you're obtaining success. Many of you Cancer people are going to discover during this eclipse activation period the career of your dreams, the career you've always been longing for. It can be like very strongly activated now. Now, another thing is that you might be very sensitive to your public image and your reputation because of this energy. So watch out for gossip and, you know, difficult news. You might hear, oh, such and such said such and such about you, and all that sort of bullshit. Ignore it. Let it be water off a duck's back. You know, people talk all they want. Any news is, you know, any publicity is good publicity, as they say. Don't let it bring you down, Cancer people, if you do get wind of sort of gossipy crap. This is the 10th house is a house of our bosses and people in authority over us. So it can also represent that our bosses are changing. They might be changing in their character. You know, they might have been that coolest, most easygoing boss in the world, and lo and behold, the next 6 months, they're riding our back like nobody's business. It could also represent a change in who is our boss. You know, we might be getting a new boss, or you know, our boss leaves for long service leave and we get somebody in temporarily to take their place. So changes in authoritative energy in our life. This 10th house also has to do with the image we need to display in order to be successful. And we've got an eclipse energy forming in Aries. So it's about having an energy of freedom, seeking freedom, which has to do with the original Saros cycle energy that we can use. If we're looking for living a freer, more authentic life, then we're right on track to do what we need to do to create more success in our life. If we're seeking the freedom for you know, the people who follow us, you know, this is a house of leadership. If we're looking to help people, you know, achieve greater authenticity and freedom in their own lives as well as in our lives, we create greater success because of this eclipse energy forming in the 10th house. And remember, the 10th house is the house of what we need to do to gain respect and to gain success in life. You need to persevere in order to gain recognition and success. You need to sort of be stoic, and you need to be mature and enduring. Why do I say that? Because the ruler of this eclipse, Mars, is with Saturn, and Saturn calls us every time to be responsible, mature, and patient. So don't give up. If you're feeling like the success that this eclipse has promised you is taking too long to manifest, know that you just need to be more stoic, be more patient, put the work in, do the hard yards, and the rewards will come eventually. This is, just to conclude, this is a house that tells us what inspires us. And of course, it's Aries energy for you Cancer people. Being innovative, being entrepreneurial, being creative. You really need to hone in on those things right now in order to be an inspiration to others, and look for it in other people. There might be, I think, tremendous opportunity during this eclipse season, Aries, where you're going to see people being creative, see people being entrepreneurial, coming up with new and innovative approaches to making their life a success. It will lift you up, it will inspire you, and it will help you to go forward. So keep your eyes open. You are going to encounter all sorts of incredible people during this eclipse who are going to be a source of inspiration to you, my beautiful Cancer, not Aries, Cancer rising sun or moon people. This is going to enable you ultimately to make a fresh start and turn over a new leaf with the legacy you're going to leave to others when you're gone. What you're going to be remembered for is what we see it through the 10th house. So these inspirational people that you will encounter during this eclipse season are going to be very instrumental on your rise to not only success, but to leaving a successful legacy for others when you're gone. Now, I have so much more to tell you, my Cancer friends, all about this eclipse. There's just so much to say, but you're going to have to join me at the Patreon family if you want to find out more. They're going to be getting this video, but with an extended piece for each and every sign. So head to the link in the description below and come and join me there. And for Patreon members watching this, it's time to find out more. Thank you, Cancer. Moving along now, we are up to Gemini. Gemini rising, Gemini sun, and Gemini moon people. Well, Gemini, you have the eclipse forming in the 11th house. What a great place to be having the refreshing energy of an eclipse where there's sudden changes, new beginnings forming. It's an important turning point that the 11th house eclipse energy brings. I'm going to talk about in what realm that will be in a minute. This is occurring on the 8th to the 9th of April. There is an energy of feeling a little bit frustrated and stressed that comes with this combination because the ruler of the eclipse is Mars sitting with Saturn there. So there might be some irritation to begin with, but ultimately this is an Upachaya house that leads to better and better results as time goes on. So, you know, in about 6 months' time when this eclipse energy is peaked, then you're going to notice things have got a lot better. And this is going to be felt with friends. There's a change in the dynamic that you're experiencing with your social connections and your friendship circles now. Some friends might be leaving your life now, but it's creating space for new friends to come in. There might be a shift and a change in the type of friendships that you're experiencing and why your friends might be going through a bit of a redirectioning or a turning point as well. This is the house of goals and dreams and aspirations that we have, and certainly an eclipse energy like this one gives us the need to sort of want to break free of old goals and dreams that maybe haven't fruited for us, and we want something new. We want something fresh. So don't be surprised if you throw out your old aspirations and take some new ones on. And this will be based on maybe sudden inspirations that you get and intuitive downloads that you experience from the divine. So it's a turning point with your ambitions and visions for your life too. You know, if you look back at where you were a year ago and what you were aspiring to achieve compared to where you're at right now, I wouldn't hesitate to say, Gemini, that it's in a completely different zone because of the eclipse forming here at this time. Eclipse energy, solar eclipse energy, pertains to the masculine, and so it's possible that some man is going to be a very important source of benevolence in your life to help you with your dreams and goals and gainfulness. You might meet this person now for the first time, or you might already know them, but the interactions that you have with this significant person in your life could prove to be very financially fruitful over the coming 6 months. They might be putting in a good word for you in a certain circumstance or in a certain situation. They might be speaking up for you. They might sort of give you a tip, something like that. Somebody's going to help you achieve more because they cross your path right now. So the 11th house is really about how we can achieve our dreams. And with Aries energy being heavily activated by this eclipse, it's about being entrepreneurial. It's about taking a risk, getting out of your comfort zone, starting something new. Now, it might feel very frustrating and uncomfortable to do so, my gorgeous Gemini friends, but I just encourage you, hang in there. This is an Upachaya house. Whatever you get started on is going to get better and better and better as time goes on, even if it feels frustrating in the beginning. So get the Aries energy on, and you can achieve big as a result of this eclipse, of course. This is the house of our stepchildren and our children-in-law as well. And so it's likely that we might be seeing change in their lives. They might be going through some sort of shift of energy. They might be turning over a new leaf in their life, making a new beginning in some way, redirectioning their life into, like leaving school and going into a career. They might be changing their university course, that kind of thing. We might be seeing complete change in the lives of our children-in-law rather, and our stepchildren. That might be unfolding as a result of this eclipse. This is the 11th house is the 12th from the 12th. It's a very interesting house in that regard. The 12th house is considered to be the house of loss. And when we are in the 12th house from the 12th, it means loss of loss. I mean, no more loss. Therefore, it's a house of great gains. And to have an eclipse forming in the 11th house can mean great gains are going to manifest. I hope that's the case for you, Gemini. I really do. How this is going to form, I could not say, but certainly this new beginning, this turning around, this turning over a new leaf in the house of great gains could be very auspicious and beneficial for many Gemini people who are watching this, unless there are restrictive or blocking factors occurring in your natal chart to prevent it from happening. Very, very exciting. Also, the ruler of this eclipse is going into the 10th house. So I feel that it's got something to do with career and worldly success, with what you're putting out there to be. It's not like great gains that just land in your lap from no effort whatsoever on your part. I think it's about you and what you want to achieve in the world and what you want to be known for in your career, essentially. So very, very exciting energy. Now, Gemini, I have so much more to tell you about the energy of this eclipse and what will be manifesting for you. But to get the entire report, you need to join me at my Patreon page through the link in the description below. So join me there, where you'll get this video, but with a whole extra bit added for each and every sign. And for my Patreon members who are watching, it's time to find out what that extra bit is all about. Well, my Taurus, rising sun and moon people, you can tell my voice is almost gone, and we are at the end of our journey around the zodiac here for the eclipse in Aries on the 8th or 9th of April, depending where you are in the world. And this is forming in your 12th house, Taurus. This is where we can expect sudden changes and new beginnings. It's where we have an important turning point arriving in our lives. Now, there can be some frustration and stress because the ruler of this eclipse energy is Mars in a conjunction with Saturn, which can make us feel a little frustrated and stressed, a little bit blocked. But generally speaking, for you guys, I think this is very, potentially very powerful. It's a time for, as I like to say, hanging onto your hat, because the psychic downloads that you could get now, they're very profound, highly prophetic. Don't discount anything that comes through now. You should expect guidance in your dreams, in your visions, even in your daydreams and imaginings. There is something in those for you too. The reason I say this, there's only a few houses, the 8th, the 12th and the 4th, sometimes the 9th as well, where we get heavy-duty prophecy, and none more so than the 12th house. The 12th house is so profound because it's coming from outside of you. It's like a gift from the divine is being placed into your mind, into your heart, into your soul. Rather than you just intuiting things, this is an omen from the universe presents itself to you. A dream is put in your mind by the divine. You know, something outside of you is giving you guidance and wisdom now. Very powerful. Also, the 12th house represents the past. It represents old habits, old beliefs, old behaviors. It can also represent some childhood traumas and psychological wounds. And as we know, this eclipse is all about brand new starts. It's a new moon. It's about a turning point and shifting our life in some significant way. So really, my beautiful Taurus people, if you have been traumatized or have habits or behaviors that you want to shift and change, this is the eclipse for you. This can really turn things around. It gives you a fresh start, either consciously or unconsciously. Better to work consciously with things than to sort of get a shock and a surprise through the universe doing something. So take time to meditate, reflect, look deeply into your life at where you're hurting, at where the wounds are, at where the old habits are that aren't helping you, that are causing you to self-sabotage all the time. And then ask the divine, pray. This is the house of prayer. Ask the divine to help you under this energy. It is waiting for you to do so that it can rush in and make the changes that you need. Now, you might need to isolate a little more to cope with the heightened energies of this eclipse. So that means taking time out to, spend time on the couch with a cup of tea and daydreaming as you look out the window, resting, sleeping, escaping in healthy ways, going for a walk in a beautiful meditative forest or something. Whatever you do to feel restoration of spirit and soul, usually by yourself. This is an isolated energy, and it's healthy to spend time on your own sometimes. So Taurus, doing so is where the healing comes, where the uplifting comes. And speaking of healing, the 12th house is the house of miraculous healing. And when an eclipse occurs in the 12th house, the divine can really touch our life in an amazing way, and we're never the same. Very miraculous things, and sort of the stuff that gives us big goosebumps can occur, like, oh my God, how did that happen? That can't just be, coincidence. This is synchronicity at work. Those kinds of events are what unfolds with an eclipse in the 12th house. Now, letting go is a 12th house energy. And so I do feel this isn't the case for everybody with this new moon energy, but for you it is. Letting go needs to happen before the new beginning can manifest. So as we come up to this eclipse energy, like I said, take the time to meditate, go deep, look and reflect on the life, and release. Where you need to release something, let it go. There's power in doing so now if you create space for the good energy to have room to come on in. Again, privacy, seclusion, and prayer are the keys here. Now, one thing, let's talk about the shadow side of this energy. One thing is that there can be large expenditures. That's what we see with the 12th house. Yes, so it's a house of loss through large expenditures, but sometimes that's not for ill. Sometimes it's for benefit. You know, if you pay a lot of money for a car that's never going to break down because it's fairly new and it's a really good quality car, well, that's a large expenditure, but it's not, I wouldn't consider it a loss. It's a necessity. It's a need to have a fulfilled, successful life in Western culture. So large expenditures do mean a loss of finance, but usually in return for something of benefit. So there might be something that occurs that you have to pay a lot of money for, or you need to invest in now for your own greater good. This eclipse might just bring something about where that is required of you. So you can consider that a shadow energy if you want to, or you can consider it an opportunity to better your life, depending on how you view those large expenditures. Now, the one thing about the 12th house is that it sits behind the first house. So it's like everything behind us, not only our past, but the hidden agendas of the rising sign, what our secret life mission is. And with an eclipse occurring here, your deep down psychological past life energy that wants to express in this life as a purpose, as a meaning, as a mission for this life can be revealed. It is a house of secrets, and to have an eclipse forming in a house of secrets can illuminate and reveal what those secrets are. So you might know it's past life related, but there can be a new quality added to the meaning and purpose of your life that is likely to be coming from past lives as a result of this eclipse. So there might be an event that happens during the eclipse activation season that illuminates that shows you that. Yeah, there's the hidden agenda of the rising sign. That's how we describe the 12th house. So meaning and purpose can be a result of what manifests during this eclipse activation season for you. Now, I do have more to share with you, my Taurus friends, about this eclipse energy and what it's all about, but you'll need to join me at the Patreon family to get all the juicy details. My Patreon family will be getting this video that you're watching right now, but with extended, much more to say for each sign. So to join me there, simply go to the link in the description below. And for my Patreon members who are watching, now's the time. We're going to go deeper with Taurus energy and this eclipse. So my gorgeous Taurus rising sun or moon friends, we are now at the end of our monster astrology video looking at the solar eclipse in Aries. I want to thank everybody for joining me for this video. It has been so fun to explore this energy. I hope that the eclipse brings you blessing and much love and much joy and prosperity. Thank you for being here on my Patreon family and my YouTube channel. You mean so much to me. Be blessed, my beloved friends.